Good morning, good morning, good morning. Sorry for the shenanigans yesterday, but I did have a substantive amount of stuff to do, and yesterday was exhausting as it was. So let me go ahead and pull up the national anthem. The national anthem, and then there is some interesting and wild stuff kind of going on in the space that I'm going to be ecstatic to talk to y'all about in a second. So let me pull up, what is it? TikTok, JD Vance, Never Trump Guy song. Sleepy Man Bad says, what's up? What's up to you, man? What's up to you?
So this is really who Donald Trump chose as his running mate?
Drop the beat.
I'm a never Trump guy. I'm a never Trump guy. I'm a never Trump guy. I never liked him. I'm a never Trump guy. I'm a never Trump guy. I'm a never Trump guy. I never. 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 I'm a never Trump guy. I never liked him. I never liked him. I never liked racism. I'm a never Trump guy. Xenophobia. I'm a never Trump guy. Racism. I'm a never Trump guy. Xenophobia. I'm a never Trump guy. I never liked him. I never liked him. I never. I'm a never Trump guy. 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 I never liked him. I'm a never Trump guy. I'm a never Trump guy. I'm a never Trump guy. I never. 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 I'm a never Trump guy. I never liked him.
Oh, yeah. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. All right. So Rob says, beat, beat. Good to see you, Think King. Deus Halcyon says, good morning, all. True. Politics JK says, good morning, y'all. Good morning to you. Sen Patriarch says, good morning. Good morning. Far Force says, what's up, dogs? What's up? Happy Friday. On time. Hell has frozen over. You know, it's been rough out there. It's been hard out there for a pimp. Hard out there for a pimp. This. Been tough out there for a pimp. Deus Halcyon kicking us off. Thank you, King. With the 5 gifted memberships. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Yeah, Fast and Bulbous, this is our last week on Earth. It'll be fine. Drop the goon. I'm a never stop guy. I'm a never stop guy. Waifus. Edgeophobia. I'm a never stop guy. I hate that. Deus Halcyon says, payday for me, payday for you. Well, that's amazing. Thank you, King. I appreciate you. Speaking of the prayers, let's do it. May your grill stay hot. May your beer stay cold. May you keep all your fingers while blowing things up. Amen. And then for the gooners out there, Daddy, give me the strength to goon, the patience to edge, and the wisdom to know the difference. I'll pray. I'll pray that the gooners in chat know the difference. But anyways, I kind of do just want to roll right into the content because it could be a short day. It could be a long day. Kind of depends on...
I've learned.
Kind of depends on whether or not our Valor React friend, whether or not Mr. Dan Pace wants to hang out today. So, I need to work on a Photoshop asset. I need to work for a Photoshop asset for the... Oh, that's an interesting picture. And then, what was it? Photoshop asset, plumber is fixing things. I got plenty of content. Oh, I need to text Dan Pace. That's what I need to do. Dan Pace. How are you looking today? Hard to believe it's already Friday. Hard to believe it's already Friday. Oh. Par 4, base gifter, true. Drop the... Oh, that's the goon thing. Gooner prayer, true. For Rob, I did say it. Connor, have you recovered from Destiny and Pisco's wreckage? Yeah. I guess. Like, I know you're probably joking around, and I know people, I don't know. But some people say this seriously. They listen to like a conversation between two adults of opposing perspectives, And then they jump in the chat and they're like, you got wrecked. And it's like two adults calmly hashing out their ideological, philosophical, and fact-based differences. There's not even an opportunity to get wrecked. That's very silly. And then not just that, I feel like I've been pretty vindicated in a majority of my perspectives. My perspectives might not play as well to the schizophrenics, but I'm about to show you something to that effect in a moment. So, yeah. Are you really early or am I late? I'm early, which means I'm on time. Yeah. Started stream early today. Yeah, on time. On time. This week has crawled for you. You need more shitty things in your life. Send Patriarch. Get some get some trials and tribulations in your life, and it'll go by super fast. Oh my god. He's on time and straight today, relatively speaking. It's Friday, baby. Fuck. Have you seen those memes? No. Got a little sad this morning. Think we might not be back in the early 2000s all of a sudden. I mean, the thousands had their advantages. The music and the fashion was on point. The lingo was on point. The pop culture was on point. So, you know, just despite a massive war in the Middle East and hundreds of thousands of dead overseas in said conflict. So, yeah, you know. Why are people blaming Destiny for someone in his community being insane? Because he's fucking Fed posting. That's why. That's why. Because of the Fed posting. You can't say, oh, we need to break the law. We need to break the law. We need to break the law. We need to do anything. We need to do anything. And then somebody does anything. And then you're like, whoa, not like that. It's like, oh my God. You know? Thoughts on Konstantin on Rogan? Probably being a pussy, right? Fucking licking his wounds from Destiny, being mean to him, going to Joe Rogan for a hug, Joe Rogan giving him a hug and saying that, you know, you shouldn't engage with Destiny because he's a bad faith actor. That was crazy. True, but he directly called out that loser. Am I the only person who remembers the stochastic rhetoric of 2019 to 2021? Am I the only loser who was listening at that time? I think I'm the only person who paid attention. I'm the only person who paid attention. And by the way, you just prompted a mind map. Destiny isn't advocating violence by individual lone wolf terrorism. He is Fed posting about electing Dems to commit crimes. You understand that if your elected officials start committing crimes, then the rule of law no longer exists, and it just becomes a struggle of power and violence. Did you think that you were going to be able to locate violence specifically within the realm of elected officials when elected officials start violating the law? That's the most retarded thing that's ever been said in my chat ever. And I got some hardcore competition in my chat for dumbest shit ever uttered. That's fucking crazy pants. That's the craziest pants thing I've ever heard. Fucking go grab some bananas and smash them in your pockets and start doing cartwheels. That's the most crazy pants shit I've ever fucking heard. God damn. Destiny's community is moderated. I was banned from the Reddit because I posted something they considered Fed posting. Don't piss on my leg. Don't piss on my leg. It's way too early for that shit. It's way too early for that shit. Wasn't Dream Hobbit follower, whatever? Wasn't Hobbit follower literally in Destiny's chat the other day? Or not even chat. They have a segment. They have a segment together where he's saying, hey, you need to reel it back in because the Reddit and the fucking Discord are getting crazy and we need to reel this back in. Beef Supreme says, I hate to be that guy, but the rule of law is kind of not being followed by either side right now. Fuck off. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding? When the rule of law is gone, you guys don't know what the rule of law is. You don't know what it is when it's gone. You are fish swimming in the rule of law. The rule of law being gone is narcos. You understand that, right? Literally, go watch Narcos. That is the rule of law being gone. Cops, kidnapping people, suffocating people to death with plastic bags, executing people randomly. But then, them being relatively justified because the other side is killing their families. The other side is assassinating cops in CSI techs and fucking everybody. And then rival gangs are slaughtering each other at opportunities where they seem their most strong or they seem their most vulnerable. They're slaughtering the other side. Fashion 40 says, uh-oh, Connor's panties being in a bunch. Yeah, my panties are in a fucking bunch, and yours should be too. Matter of fact, I'm kind of pissed. I'm kind of pissed that you guys are like, oh, we forgot what stochastic rhetoric was. We think we can limit the rule of law to this one part of society. What the fuck? That's some of the dumbest shit I've ever heard. Grassroots for 20 says, sorry I'm late. My internet daddy abandoned me yesterday. And yes, I have called CYS. I'm assuming that's like Child Protective Services. You guys are crazy. You guys are crazy. It's not either side, it's one side. Well, now apparently it's both sides because I got people being like, oh. Send Patriarch says Connor's big mad he didn't get to yell at us yesterday. I guess that is partially what's going on. I didn't get to yell at you yesterday, so now I do have additional energy from yesterday that I could have used y'all as an ideological lightning rod. A problem with the no rules approach is that you can't make your allies put the gun down when you think they're being over the top. Yeah. Yeah, time to be a chill viewer wants to hold Destiny accountable for not this guy not being a DGGer. It's just a Kisin hater. Okay. I can't believe that I have to lecture. I have to lecture liberals about the stochastic terrorist rhetoric of 2019 to 2022. Stochastic rhetoric is a stupid concept, and it was during the discourse. Wrong. Wrong. Yes, the consequences of the Dem admin being authoritarian and committing crimes against MAGA results in an environment in which lone wolf actors commit terrorism and violence. Thank you, Christian Valeris. I hope that that's not sarcastic. That is going to be true. You understand that if the Dems start being authoritarian the same way that Trump is, the same way that we have lone wolf terrorism now against the current administration, there will be lone wolf terrorism against the future administration, correct? Here's a chip for the Snickers. I probably should go get a Snickers before I keep going. What's the problem today? I made one comment and you come off so hot because I said both sides. Correct. It's because of the stochastic shit. It's because of the stochastic shit. That's what it is. It's y'all just completely forgetting and dismissing the stochastic rhetoric discourse of 2019 to 2022. That's what pisses me off. Hey, I'm in Nathan's chat calling his dog cute. You can see my PFP. Nathan wasn't being serious with the box cutter. That isn't comforting at all. I'm in Nathan's chat calling his dog cute. You can see my PFP. Nathan wasn't being serious with the box cutter. So you're hanging out in the Schizo's chat talking about slicing Konstantin Kisin's neck? What the fuck, man? Grassroots saying Destiny calling Konstantin a Russian shill is just untrue and silly. I'm unfamiliar with Konstantin's Russia-Ukraine takes. Okay, we're going to go over it. We covered the 4 deaths of the U.S. plane falling out of the sky? Not really. Listen, guys, I hate to tell you, but when you're conducting military operations so complex that you effectively destroy 90% of your opposition's military capacity, there's going to be accident, operational, and hostile casualties. And if you're able to slaughter hundreds or thousands of your opponents and destroy tens of millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of equipment, maybe billions of dollars worth of equipment, and you lose less than 100 people, that's a successful military operation. I hate to say it, but it's true. Like, losing 50 people, killing 10,000, and blowing up billions of dollars of enemy weapons is still a success. Yeah. So, anyways, that has nothing to do with legality or morality. That's just like an analysis of the numbers. Fellrunner says, I believe I read yesterday they didn't take out all the rocket launchers or most of the rocket launchers at all, so that's great. Well, it's a time process thing. It takes time. The rockets got to roll out in order to fire so we can identify them, so we can blow them up, and we can see where they're hiding them, too. So, we just did a training exercise. That wasn't a war, and these wars still blue on blue. That's still embarrassing. Sure. But, like, you're effectively running complex air operations over a hostile airspace, achieving no casualties from the enemy. And then you have 3 of your planes get shot down, but it was from a friendly force with 0 casualties. That's crazy. So hold on. I'm going to do this because this is actually straight up what pisses me off about what you guys are saying, where you're like, "Oh, the stochastic rhetoric doesn't make any sense. Stochastic rhetoric was cringe. Why are you holding people accountable for stochastic rhetoric?" This is bullshit. I have no idea what the fuck y'all are talking about. I think you guys are just wrong because it's annoying. Like it's annoying and inconvenient to be responsible for your implications. So I can tell today is going to be like a day where we fight. I'll try to pace myself, but I can't promise I'm not going to be grumpy. So just like be ready for grumpy Connor, okay? Because we're gonna be grumpy today. It's nobody's fault. It's just God. It's just a tough week. It's just a tough week, and it's just a tough month. And y'all, I have a bunch of silly geese. I have silly geese in my chat. All right. So let's do like Lauren Southern. Let's do... Fellrunner says, can you think of an instance of right-wing media calling liberals dangerous for the country in the last 30 years? I can think of dozens of times. That doesn't make it... Did my enemies do something bad? Did my enemies do something? Yes, your enemies are doing something bad. Yes. Yes, your enemies did something bad. Shapingro gifted a membership. Thank you for being generous, guys. I do appreciate it. Weston X says, a little off topic, but Chris Cappy is making the claim that Starlink is being controlled by the U.S. government with an on-off switch. Well, that's how he's explaining the Ukrainian advances in the past week. I don't know how to corroborate that. I have no idea how to corroborate that. Lauren Southern, Tucker Carlson, Donald Trump, and then Destiny. Well, I guess I could put like lib Fed posters, but I'll put Destiny as an amalgamation of the liberal Fed posters. And by the way, like somebody being like, oh, he was joking. He was joking. What was the joke? Hello? Hey, Leah, how can I help you? Not great, but we could. I'm just at work. Sorry, guys. That was just an actually important phone call, so I wanted to do that. All right. Let's hold on. Let's take a look at chat. That way I can get pissed off before I do the stochastic thing. Airborne Kite says, I don't mind the concept, but I hate people treat stochastic terrorism like a scientific term or art and not just a comment from a blog post. Sure. We don't even have a go that far back. Kirk was killed by a relatively normie Mormon, and a Trump psycho crashed his truck and gunned down Mormons a few weeks later. Yep. Connor has more heat for the left because he expects us to be the better part, but it's annoying as fuck when he thinks this is what the vast majority of the online left believe. Okay, well, if the shoe doesn't fit, don't wear it. Okay? If the shoe doesn't fit, don't wear it. Like, you guys are getting pissed at me because you're like, well, I don't believe that. Then I'm not talking about you. Obviously. Honestly, this is 1,000% because of Trump. Everyone looking at Destiny for moral clarity and not the president should be classified as needs assistance 24/7. Literally whataboutism. Literally whataboutism. Talking about a class of bad behavior that should be stopped. And you're like, well, the other side does it too. Okay, and? Like, it's so annoying. Another thing that's pissing me off is in the early 20s, which was a couple of years ago, everybody knew all the logical fallacies to the point that everybody was bringing it up in debates. They're like, the genetic fallacy, appeal to authority, appeal to consensus, ad populum. Like they knew the Latin logical fallacies. And they would invoke them randomly during debate. And what ended up happening was there were so many people with poor argumentation, and there were so many people who invoked the logical fallacies, that the conversations became like literally 50% debunking sources and calling out logical fallacies. And then as a result, people got scared to get stomped in the debate space. And so they all backed out. And as a result of backing out, we now have a weaker zeitgeist dialectic. And not just that, like, you know, not just that, but the conversation has gotten worse. So that's like me basing my moral clarity on homeless drug addicts. It's not a good starting point. You guys are so fucking silly. Do you see this operation is going successfully? To me, because for it's a failure the longer we're there, plus the new Ayatollah is firmly shutting down the Strait of Hormuz. Yeah, well, we could just kill that guy. Technically, Connor is the opposite of at work, which is how I feel every time I get dragged into a meeting I have no fucking business being in. Based. Destiny was very clear when he found out about this guy. Oh, did he disavow? Well, that makes it all okay. As long as you disavow after the fact, that makes it all okay. So, Connor, is this instance you're looking for tu quoque fallacy? See? If you want Destiny for more clarity, you are literally already a write-off a car accident of a human. Yeah, but his political analysis is decent, and therefore people do go to him for moral analysis. Yeah. I hate fallacyology. Millennials turned logic into a Pokemon battle. Tu quoque, I choose you. All right, that's a little bit of levity I needed. Ad populum, I choose you. Yeah. Boston Bam says, this is exactly why I left DGG after the Kirk killing. First time here, Connor. Don't know how you do this if this is the normal response. I just suffer. Boston Bam. I just suffer. I just wake up every day and I choose suffering. Because it's funny. Oh my god. I can't tell if that's sarcasm or not. No, I think that's pretty funny. I do think that's pretty funny. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's do it real quick. So let's do this, and even if it's a little bit slower, I don't care, because 3,000 IQ GigaChats and GigaStacies are going to appreciate this. So, Lauren Southern. So countries have a ethnos, which is a historical, traditional, cultural heritage passed from generation to generation. This ethnos is worthy of defense. Demographics have, birth rate demographics have decreased in the Western world. Globalists are mass importing Middle Eastern and North African people and Mexicans to make up for demographic loss. This is causing crime, terrorism, rape, murder, mayhem, and anarcho-tyranny. Hangs out with Generation Identity, which is an org which wants to repatriate, denaturalize, and repatriate Euro citizens who are not a part of the ethnos. So, if you were a part of this organization, if you were to follow Lauren Southern's strategy, right? And what she believes is happening then, ethno-nationalism is moral. Denaturalization, deportation, and exile is moral. Maybe it's the Jews. If our globalist captured governments don't act, this is white genocide. Christchurch shooter. Okay? So this is like what we mean by stochastic rhetoric. Is this the Southern strategy? I see what you did there. Okay. So good. We know what's going on. What is this map? This is the stochastic rhetoric map. So Tucker Carlson, the world is multipolar, and I'm sick of neocon and neoliberal warhawks doing foreign adventurism and laissez-faire economics, raping the white working class of America. America is a Christian nation that just happens to tolerate other sex. We need a multipolar world where Russia, China, Iran, and others are not thought of as enemies or rivals, but people to share power with. We should listen to the geopolitical interests of our rivals and enemies. Okay, these are the things that Tucker Carlson says, but you would be remiss if you didn't understand the correlation with the following perspectives. We should ease up on Russia. We shouldn't criticize the authoritarian regimes of foreign governments, especially Qatar. Guess where I think this motherfucker is getting funded. We should abandon Ukraine. I'm trying to think of what else. We should abandon NATO. We should be isolationist. We should be econ protectionist. Trump is the best vehicle for this world outlook, despite being retarded. Sorry for the ableist slur, but it's just true. Sorry if there's a crazy noise going on in the background. I might even check on what it is. There is a plumber currently working in my house. I don't think the mic is picking it up, but I literally have like one of the craziest noises I've ever heard in my life happening like 10 feet away from me. So, let's do Donald Trump. The election was rigged. The midnight bump was ballot stuffing. Hundreds of thousands of ballots were filled out by dead people and non-citizens. The Democrats rigged the mail-in voting to put in Joe Biden. If you don't, we need to go pressure VP Pence to do the right thing. If we don't fight now, we're not going to have a country anymore. The Kraken is coming. DC is a swamp filled with villains. The people need to seize back power. I mean, I could go on and on, but I think we all get this. The 2020 election, was it 2020? Yeah, it was illegitimate. Democrats fraudulently stole the election. VP Pence should vacate the electors. We should go protest, maybe riot, in order to force Congress to vacate the electors. If we don't, we live in a banana republic and America is over. This is what was implied. This is obviously the stochastic rhetoric. And you could just go on endlessly about Trump, and stuff. So here's the thing, Destiny, the winning the midterms and presidency aren't enough. We can't reverse the damage done. We need a revenge campaign against Trump and his enablers. We need to push the limits of the law as far as Trump, if not further, in the name of this crusade. We need to ban MAGA simp Republicans from future office. We need to charge and incarcerate any Trump-affiliated politicians. We need to ignore the courts if they make a verdict we don't like. We need to, what would be the other ones? To be as unhinged as MAGA. And what would be another thing? I'm going to put this for Soy Pill. So this is Soy Pill, not Destiny, but I see their argument. I see their argumentation as parallel. Soy Pill. If we can't get past the pardon or the courts, we should Minecraft DJT. Okay? Become MAGA to defeat MAGA. No bad tactics, only bad targets. Ignore / pack the courts. Extrajudicial prosecutions are dope. Fuck 'em, lol. Okay? Chokes Main says, Destiny moderated his opinion a ton based on his convo with Lakshia and Hutch. Okay. That's fine. But at the same time, like, you guys, the whole reason why I did this mind map, the whole reason why I've been typing this out for the past 5 to 10 minutes is because you guys are implying that it's crazy for me to infer the bottom parts. Become MAGA to defeat MAGA. No bad tactics, only bad targets. Ignore / pack the courts. Extrajudicial prosecutions are dope. Fuck 'em, lol. Like, that is what I am inferring from Destiny's rhetoric, and I don't think I'm the only one. And so if I'm inferring this from Destiny's rhetoric, and I can show you that Donald Trump, Tucker Carlson, and Lauren Southern have all engaged in stochastic rhetoric, why are you guys saying, oh, stochastic rhetoric is cringe? We hated the 2019 to 2022 discourse. We know that people argue up to the line of what they're implying, and then they back down whenever you actually like ask them, hey, are you advocating for criminal behavior? But they're not backing down from criminal behavior. Am I going to defend North's honor in a moment? But we got some housekeeping to do. But y'all saying like, oh, I don't even believe in stochastic rhetoric. I don't think you believe that. When you say that, I don't think you believe that. I think what you're saying is you're sick of everyone getting to use stochastic rhetoric except for you, and you are going to use stochastic rhetoric for good. You know, you're going to Fed post for good. You're going to make wild implications for good. You're going to shit post for the good of the country. But it's the Aldous Huxley quote. Like, I hate to be a wet blanket on your parade. I know you're just coming online to have your own opinions reaffirmed back to you. But it's the Aldous Huxley quote. That's all it is. And I would be less angry. I would be less angry if you just admitted that's what it was. Aldous Huxley, delicious moral treats. This is all it is. The surest way to work up a crusade in favor of some good cause is to promise people they will have a chance of mistreating someone, to be able to destroy with good conscience, to be able to behave badly and call your behavior righteous indignation. This is the height of psychological luxury, the most delicious of moral treats. If you guys just said, hey, yeah, I'm tired. I'm tired of the other side effing me over. I'm tired of the other side behaving poorly and not getting punishment. I'm tired of having to behave morally, in a higher level. I just want to be able to engage in bad behavior against my opponents because it feels good. On an instinctive level, it feels good. Then I'd be like, oh, okay. You know you're behaving poorly, but you're at least self-aware enough that you know that you're behaving poorly. But when you guys are like, I'm not behaving poorly, and not only am I not behaving poorly, I don't even believe in stochastic rhetoric, I'm like, this is fucking cope. It's obvious cope. It's so copey, I'm shocked that people in my chat are trying to pass it off as if it's like sincerely not cope. It's obviously cope. Fellow Runner says, it's not cringe, it's sinister. Why is the average apolitical person in this country believes the lie that conservatives are fiscally responsible and Dems want open borders? Because of rhetoric, right? I haven't seen everything he said about this because it's dull to me, but I think his position is to judicially go after them, nothing violent. What do you think do you think incarcerating people is violence? Do you think using cops to arrest people is violence? What do you think incarceration is? It's definitely not peaceful. And so to say we should illegally use the organs of the state to engage in violence against our opponents, all you're doing is you're opening up Pandora's box of violence. That's all you're doing. Because you're not following a rules-based society that actually abides by the rule of law. You're eliminating the rule of law, at which point it just becomes a struggle of power. Once it becomes a struggle of power, we're fucked. And the republic dies. If we did everything if we just followed, if everybody in the country became Destiny when he was Fed posting, Soy Pill when he was Fed posting, I'm trying to think of who else, but there were a few other Fed posters who are just like ardently defending the Fed posting. If we all became those people, we would lose the Republic of the United States. That's just true. Like the Republic of the United States would cease to exist. There would be no reason in defending it as a republic. It would just be a fascist struggle for power, and there would be different camps of fascists. There would be liberal fascists, there would be left, and I'm talking about political corporatists and flexible authoritarians. I actually think tankies, weirdly enough, while claiming to serve socialism, do function in the same way that a fascist party operates. And so you would have tankies, liberals, Christian nationalist, dissident, right-wing techno-feudalists and conservatarians effectively operating as fascist competitors for power. So, Grassroots 10 says there's only one good reason to Fed post, and that's for fun and to shorten my forthcoming trial. There you go. It's not mistreatment. Great quote, though. I want to hear it more. Okay. What do you think the nationalization of resources is? What is that? Yeah. So basically the Republicans can do whatever they want and no one benefits but the Republicans for the illicit actions. And that's not me saying, yeah, you just haven't paid attention to a single fucking thing I've said for weeks, Fashion 40. I can't ban you because you love science fiction. And you gave me money to go over Gundam stuff. So I cannot suspend you or ban you. Well, I mean, I might be able to suspend you. But I'm saying this with love. You have not paid attention to a single fucking thing I've said for weeks. And that is frustrating. Razzle says, Desi isn't responsible for the actions of his fans any more than the Beatles are responsible for the actions of the Manson family. Okay. Okay. Then Lauren Southern has 0% culpability for Christchurch. So. Alishness for 5 says, can you clarify your stance? I was under the impression that you support the Second Amendment in times of abject tyranny. Is that not Fed posty? Yeah, but we're not in times of abject tyranny. The courts are working. The election system is working. The people are voting. We're holding elections. You guys pretending like we're in this like failed state is bullshit. Yeah, the Republic is already on life support. See? And then you just justify it. Then you just justify it. You don't even bother to try to say, no, that's not what we're doing. What you say is, no, it's good. So, yeah, okay, fine. As long as we understand each other. I don't care. John Kennedy says, if you imagine a school child that is eager to follow the rules, liberals, how upset would that pissy child be in a class full of clowns? Now imagine the backlash. Well, arguably, that's what's happening right now. We have the rules-following kids who are saying, fuck it, nobody else is following the rules. I'm going to do whatever I want. People have to decide if they're willing to risk that. Answer isn't obvious. How to claw back the Republic. Gay, fascist, Buddhist, block, GigaChad. I mean, that's y'all. You're pissed at what people online are saying. Meanwhile, the POTUS is saying the opposite political party are domestic terrorists. These are not the same thing. I don't give a fuck about y'all's coping mechanism saying Donald Trump has more power. Donald Trump is a piece of shit. Donald Trump should be 25th Amendmented now. Donald Trump should never see power ever again. So the fact that y'all are like, well, we're just like him, but we want power too. Fuck you. How's that? The other day he compared it to somehow in order to enforce rule of nobody should shoot guns, sometimes you have to shoot a gun. Okay. Yeah, that's just more excuse making for the Fed posting. Have you heard the take that all elected officials should have to speak under oath when they are speaking in their official capacity? That would be amazing, actually. That sounds based. Oh, good. MS Paint is over. Now we can talk about ignoring the president's refusal of violent speech. What? Are you guys retarded? This is unfortunate. Okay, so now that we've established stochastic rhetoric is a thing. Stochastic rhetoric is a thing. DGG is retarded. Let's save that. I'm gonna... Apparently we have to go over, like, how societies function at an elementary school level. Matter of fact, let me make the I can't believe I have to do this, guys. Like, it's actually really frustrating the amount of brain rot that y'all routinely engage in. And you expect me to just be like, no, all your prior assumptions are correct. You should be able to behave poorly. You should be able to lie, cheat, and steal. You should be able to, threaten your enemies. You should be able to do whatever you want. Yeah, really, realistically, whatever you feel like. Whatever you think is good. I hate you guys. I love you, but I hate you. All right. So let's divide this up into two scenarios. I can't believe I have to explain kindergarten morality, but that's okay. Teacher. Lying, cheating, stealing, hurting other kids, huffing glue. I don't know. Torturing animals, torturing lizards. In general, just being a psycho. Okay? That's what MAGA is currently doing. And what you guys are saying is let's do that so we can all learn that all of these things are bad. Okay? Let's both do that. But all you've done is you've increased the amount of psychos behaving poorly. Whereas what I'm saying is constantly bitch about the rules being violated until the teacher pays attention. And if the psycho comes after you, break his nose in self-defense. That's what I'm saying. Okay? This is kindergarten morality. Never in a million fucking years, if there was a poorly behaved child in my son's class who was lying, cheating, stealing, hurting other kids, huffing glue, and torturing lizards, would I ever tell my kid, wow, it seems like the rules-based society of your elementary school class has broken down. And in order to draw attention to the fact that lying, cheating, stealing, and torturing animals is bad, you should start lying, cheating, and stealing and torturing animals. That way, maybe the teacher wakes up and in a fit decides to actually crack down on this behavior. Okay? And this is the obvious solution. When my child says, well, what should I do? I say, constantly bitch about the rules being violated until the teacher pays attention, and if the psycho comes after you, break his fucking nose in self-defense. That's clearly allowed in our republic. And Harstar says, we're 5 years into the class and it's getting worse. You agree with it. You guys are such fucking pussies. I can't believe it. I can't believe how fucking weak you are. In 2016, Trump won because Hillary Clinton was a uniquely uncharismatic human being. And half the country voted for him as a shitpost. Okay? That's how he won in 2016. In 2020, he lost. You understand that, right? Like, I can't believe that you guys are just acting like Trump's been in power for 12 years. He hasn't been in power for 12 years. He's been in power for 8 because he lost. He lost the election. The Democrats had power for 4 years. And then, because of an anemic economy and a uniquely poorly run 2024 campaign, Trump won again. So saying like, oh, it's gotten so bad. How about you focus on winning elections, you fucking dumbasses? How about you focus on the midterms? Midterms are right around the corner, you dipshits. How about instead of Fed posting randomly and being like, I'm going to firebomb a Walmart and then never firebomb a Walmart, how about you, I don't know, go fucking phone bank and register people for voting and get with Digital Ground Game and the DGG Ground Game team in order to go for the midterms? Why don't you get ready for the 2028? After he did a coup, what the fuck does that change about what I'm saying? When y'all just like, oh, they're behaving poorly. Yeah, that's covered by the lying, cheating, stealing, and torturing lizards analogy. Fast and Bulbous says, I agree with you, but at the same time, nothing is more maliciously homosexual than saying violence is bad. That's a bottom of the pile type of comment. See, Fast and Bulbous, I do love you shitposting in my chat, but at the same time, like, this is where we need to move out of the memes and move into reality. Having Void a Parrot, who is a normal, like a normie, a veteran in my chat, saying, oh yeah, I was in this guy's chat and he was mostly just joking. We'll go watch his jokes in a second. Officer Nasty says, yeah, bud, Connor, did you consider your child should start bullying random kids to show the teacher how bad the effects of bullying are? Yeah, that's what they're saying to me. That's what they're saying to me. Weak equals wanting to do something. Strong equals not doing anything. Patriarch, the fact that you have said that actually really disappoints me. It disappoints the fuck out of me. How is this nothing? You guys forget that I draw other mind maps. You guys forget that I go over this information repeatedly and I write it down. So you just say like the wildest strawmanning shit and say, we should do nothing. When the fuck have I ever said we should do nothing? Don't squander your political momentum leading up to the midterms. Encourage aggressive voting in midterms in order to have a sweeping majority in the House, a strong minority in the Senate, and ideally a weak majority in the Senate. Make Donald Trump a lame duck for 2 years while passing any bipartisan legislation that actually improves the lives of Americans. Enforce the Epstein files release so Donald Trump and his cronies take a huge optical hit that's going to damage them in 2028. Attempt impeachment, maybe even incarceration if you can get a few Republican defectors. In the 2028 campaign, run a white, straight male, preferably Christian man who is progressive enough to suggest needed reforms, but moderate enough to appeal to normies, and strong enough to take the fight to J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, and call them pedophiles and mass murderers through their complicity with the Trump regime. Win the 2028 election. Pass reforms for pardon power. Pass treason and sedition exclusions to pardon power. Expand DOJ. Oh, and this includes nuking the filibuster, by the way. Expand DOJ for sedition and treason task force. Clamp down on foreign disinformation and FARA violations. Clarify the process for the 14th Amendment insurrection and then execute it. Use FCC to enforce disinformation violations and the furtherance of crimes, and then pass a legislative agenda that's good for the American people. That's not nothing. This is a specific, articulable plan. And if you dedicated yourself to 2026 and 2028 electoralism, I know Patriarch is in Ukraine, but nonetheless, they could probably take some of their drone billionaire money and number one, super chat to my stream. But then number two, they could donate to American democratic causes. So this is not nothing. So for you to come in the chat, I don't know if you're being sarcastic, but this is not what Fed posting is not wanting to do something. And strength is not doing anything. That's such a blanket fucking straw man. And obviously I straw man Christian Valeris over here. And Destiny. But at the same time, the fact that you would say that, it kind of pisses me off because it just means that you're not paying attention to what I'm saying. So, this is my straw man. Straw man to be clear. Straw man to be clear. Straw man to be clear. I've said straw man 3 times. So I don't want you guys to go like, well, that's not what I really believe. I've said straw man probably 5 times now. But this is the way that people are perceiving you outside of your nuance hug box. Okay? So, and by the way, half of this is live and learn and half of this is Destiny. Use political capital to abolish and reform ICE, even though we all forgot about the ICE killings from a month ago. Doomer post about the midterms not being enough because the electorate is stupid. Cry about not being able to impeach or incarcerate Trump immediately with a majority in the House. Do an alliance with Hassan Piker and socialists to defeat MAGA. By the way, you're saying this is a straw man? Literally, Ro Khanna and Gavin Newsom were both defending their appearances on Hassan Piker's stream the other day. Now, for me, once again, as long as they're like sober and they're saying I'm using Hassan Piker as a platform, I don't agree with everything Hassan Piker does, I still think that's the right move. It just repulses me and makes my skin crawl. Fed post about MAGA deserving death during political violence, laugh about dead conservative teenage girls in Texas, but then maybe tacitly agree with everything left of me. See, that's a funny thing. Whenever you run people down on the, well, you're saying you want to firebomb a Walmart and then you never firebomb a Walmart, and then you bring up all these things, then they're like, oh yeah, I agree with all that. So all they're doing is like Fed posting plus what we want to do. 2028 win ? Ignore pardon power entirely in order to do Nuremberg 2.0 trials. I've heard that term dozens, hundreds, thousands of times. So don't tell me that's not what people want to do. Bar every Republican who was supportive of the Trump admin from holding political power. If the courts don't agree, ignore them. Incarcerate Fox News leaders for lying. That's Rashad Crenshaw. That's Rashad Crenshaw, one of the radical liberals. And then I put kill Tucker Carlson. Obviously, that's like a hyperbolic statement, but you understand that if I remove kill Tucker Carlson, this is effectively like Destiny, Live and Learn, and Rashad Crenshaw and Soy Pill amalgamated into a random, like a random collection of ideas. Now, this is my game plan. This is my Fed posting. My Fed posting is repeal the 8th Amendment and crucify people who sexually abused teenagers in the Epstein files, publicly crucify the peoples who knowingly covered up the Epstein files, denaturalize Hassan Piker, fire him from a trebuchet into the Caribbean, and then force him to swim to Cuba, because if he comes back to the United States, he faces capital punishment for being an open enemy of the United States. And by the way, I would probably do this to Tucker Carlson if I could. But the point is, I should not be trusted with power because I know this is bad. I know this is bad, so don't give me power. But you guys are like, no, give me power. I fucking love power. Give me more power. While Fed posting, which is so cringe. We're going to start the Fed posting content in a second. R slurred kindergarten. Kindergarten? Yeah. Behavior, morality, DGG. Because y'all are just like fucking sweeping for psycho shit, and I'm tired of it. I don't know if I agree that Destiny is guilty of rhetoric that leads to individual violence against individuals like Konstantin, at least not yet. MAGA elected officials for sure. You think you can limit? You think you can limit violence? You just haven't seen any movie about like the dissolution of social fabric and anarchic violence ever. You think that there's like neat little boxes of violence that you get to limit violence into? And that once you erase the rules-based order, violence stays neatly in discrete boxes? That's cute. People call me autistic, and they're right. But that is very silly. Vazraka, thank you for the gifted. You're painting a fake argument, lol. Then tell me what it is. Tell me how it's different. Articulate it. I would love for you to articulate. All right. This is a straw man of the people saying that legality isn't the simple measure of whether or not we should save our republic. Pokemon, go to the polls. True. Connor, how are you and the Never Trumpers going to fix the fractured Republican Party? Truth be told, we're probably not, as long as I stay at 100 to 150 live stream viewers. You guys are incredibly generous, but I borderline have to start the Rhino because I need a platform that grows larger and faster than Counterpoints Politics. I love Counterpoints Politics. I'm not talking shit about what we do every single day. I love what we do every single day. And you guys, despite me talking shit for the past hour, are a disproportionately better engaged, smarter, meaner, quicker chat that is also disproportionately generous. So I'm not trying to knock what we do every day, but at the same time, like, it's not enough. Connor, he apologized and admitted how inappropriate, horrible the joke was. I'm a regular in this community. It's all inside jokes taken wildly out of context. Okay, well, we're going to watch the jokes. Okay? Because I don't believe you, Void a Parrot. And it's not that I'm trying to be, like, super mean about it. You're, like, a veteran of the channel. So I'm not trying to be super mean about it. All he did was Fed posting. There's no joke here. K for $50 Canadian. Thank you. If we want people to protect democratic institutions, they need to feel like those institutions belong to them. Mobilizing people around punishment and revenge risks destroying the shared investment democracy depends on, and we need more social cohesion. Thank you, K. Number one, thank you for the oil, K. Number two, thank you for the backup in what seems to be a relatively unpopular position. So, I don't know why you're hand waving away. Because if you engage... I can't believe I have to explain this. Are you 15? Are you 12? Because this is what happened with Lauren Southern when Lauren Southern tried to go back and be like, oh, my nuance. My nuance. I went back and I did a mass immigration documentary, and I realized that not all Muslims are scumbags who deserve to be euthanized. It's because she had already done the damage through the stochastic rhetoric. So you don't get to lead somebody logically down the path of ethno-nationalism, mass deportation, state violence against ethno-religious minorities and all that kind of crap. And then when somebody takes you seriously and they go one step further than you were willing to articulate in social media, which was the shooting, then you don't just get to go, oh, well, you know, I know that I implied and built the logical blocks necessary for that mass shooter to do what he did, but I disavow mass shootings. It doesn't work like that. It's not how it works. You don't get to lead people down the path of bad behavior, and then somebody engages in bad behavior and you go, well, I disavow that bad behavior. That's so mind-numbingly stupid. I don't know why you would even entertain that as a sentence. DGG for life says everything seems to be in order. Carry on. Thanks. I find it funny that people like Destiny or Destiny adjacent feel like they can do anything in this nature. Most even can't even do a push-up. How the hell can they enforce anything? Through the state. Because, of course, cops, military, security forces, Department of Homeland Security, they're all robots, and they will 100% execute a liberal and progressive agenda without question, right? They're just little wind-up toys. Security forces are wind-up toys. They're not human beings with sympathies or political tribes or families. They're just wind-up toys that you can order into battle, and they will die for your ideology. So, that was sarcasm. Genetically engineering cat girls can lure away wayward boys from battle. That's what I said. Connor, if your legal approach fails, then what? Then it's civil war. Connor's going to call us gay for another 3 minutes? Probably. Probably. All right. All right. Let's take a look at the jokes. Conservative liberalism says Lauren pointed out a problem, but she's the bad person for articulating it and is responsible for bad people reacting poorly towards it. Makes perfect sense. All right, hold on. Let's break this down. Lauren pointed out a problem, mass demographic change, but she's the bad person for articulating it. No. And is responsible for bad people reacting poorly towards it. No. Makes perfect sense. Yeah, you're not arguing what I'm arguing. You understand that she hung out with Generation Identity. Generation Identity is an ethno-nationalist organization in Europe trying to pool collective political power between an ethno-nationalists in Europe. They've engaged in anti-immigration protests, and some of their members have gotten frustrated and committed terrorist attacks. So like, once again, being like, oh, she was just cutesy and ooh-woo and mass posted about demographic change. No, she took it a step further. She started hanging out with people who have vowed to never, like, to basically Fed post up to the line and then vowed not to engage in violence. And then some of them got frustrated with the lack of movement in their peaceful movement and then went on to commit terrorist attacks. Christian Blair says, again, Connor isn't going to disagree, and nobody in this chat will either give Fox News or Trump MAGA rhetoric. Yeah, Trump is the most guilty of all of this stuff. Trump and Fox are the most guilty of all of this stuff. Of course. But then I just go back to my elementary school analogy of, like, you have a bully in the class who's bullying, lying, cheating, and stealing and killing lizards by torturing them. And then you're like, oh, okay, well, you know, if that's tolerated, then I'm just going to lie, cheat, and steal and kill lizards with my bare hands until somebody calls me out for it being bad. And it's like, no, that's psycho shit. You guys are fucking psychos. Yeah. All right. She also fired. Yeah, she also executed. Lauren Southern also just executed half a dozen refugees with a flare gun. She didn't even get a real gun. She just lined them up on the southern Mediterranean and shot them in the back of the head with a 20 millimeter flare gun. And she allowed the concussive force of the flare to smash their skulls. You know, not cool. Not cool. Executing half a dozen refugees with flare guns is not cool. The argument is that this is self-defense. You treating GGG pulling a gun in self-defense the same as a guy who pulled a gun in the first is missing the entire point. No, it's not. No, it's not. Because I already argued how you can act within the legal framework in a way that's self-defense, and I've actively argued for you guys to stop being pussies about guns. So, yeah. Alishna says, I'm 100% willing to debate you on this topic respectfully because you're willing to take a good faith approach. Okay, later, not today. She did it with pizzazz, though. Yeah, she did do it with Riz. She did do it with Riz. It's true. All right, anyways, let's take a look at the jokes. Because the contention from Void to Parrot is that this is a joke. So let's take a look at the joke. So let me go ahead and do an intro. Hi guys, welcome to Counterpoints. My name's Connor. I'm a science fiction, politics, and philosophy nerd, a Marine Corps and law enforcement veteran. I would argue a real Republican, and I'm kind of pissed off today. The good news is that my suffering is your entertainment. So, my chat currently hates me because I feel like I'm calling them out for the Fed posting that's been happening in liberal spheres for the past couple of weeks. And I've argued that what's going to happen is if we go down this path, it's going to open up Pandora's box of extrajudicial and extra-legal violence. That's not a path that we want to go on, especially when there's a viable midterm in 2028 electoral solution to saving the Republic. And so I am incredibly frustrated and angry, not just with my chat, who are doing apology, some of my chat, I should be specific so they don't get pissed off, but I'm pissed at the online political community because effectively they've forgotten the arguments around stochastic rhetoric. They've forgotten the arguments about inference and implication. They've forgotten the arguments about everything that they ever said about Donald Trump in reference to his January 6, 2021 speech. They just totally forgot it because it's inconvenient for them to be held to moral standards. Same thing with the Aldous Huxley quote. I could pull it up, but frankly, I'll just try to regurgitate it poorly for you. They want to act badly in the name of a good cause because that feels good, right? If you want people to participate in a moral crusade, the easiest way to get them on board is to promise them the ability to act poorly in the name of a righteous cause. Being able to treat others poorly in the name of a good cause is one of the most delicious psychological treats. And I think that's all that's going on. And I think they're making excuses for it. So, Vazraka, thank you for renewing your membership. Like the stream, share it with your friends, engage with chat, super chats if you got memberships, if you got them. What we're going to be watching, though, is I think we're going to be watching the outcome of that rhetoric. This is a schizo streamer who went to the Konstantin Kisin debate, sat in the front row, stared down Konstantin Kisin, and was fantasizing about murdering him the entire time. And I'm supposed to think that these are jokes. So we're going to watch the jokes, and we're going to see if they're funny. So let's do it.
I've learned from the Charlie Kirk killing.
This guy was sitting mere feet away from Konstantin Kisin.
Hold on. Let's go to the very beginning.
I've learned from the Charlie Kirk killing.
This guy was sitting mere feet away from Konstantin Kisin during his debate with Destiny. When you hear what he has to say, it is scary to think how this could have gone.
I was like fucking locked onto his eyes, and he kept like glancing down at me and then like breaking eye contact. Because I fucking hate the guy. I was just like, I wanted to kill him.
I stumbled upon this stream when I was just trying to research and understand the opposing view, and I was shocked by some of the things this guy was saying. Keep in mind, this guy was sitting in Konstantin's eye line.
And I think he got distracted by that. and didn't pay attention to a single thing that he said.
Yes, it is just talk, but there is something more disturbing beneath the surface here. He's openly talking about wanting to assassinate Konstantin. This could have gone very differently. He even has a box cutter or X-Acto knife.
Do you know what I should have done? Stanley Blades just fucking sprinted up onto the stage, slash Konstantin in the fucking jugular.
But he wants to kill him. You can see.
Okay, what's the joke again? What's the joke? I'm writing this shit down, but what's the joke? So for instance, we had Charlie Kirk shot in the jugular last year. Right? Charlie Kirk, we all watched this. I don't know if you guys remember this. Apparently the internet has like a 30-second memory. He's referencing Charlie Kirk as a part of his joke. Okay? So, correct me if I'm wrong, what happened last September, right? Last September, I was chilling, and then on Twitter, I think Andrew Wilson might have DM'd me. Andrew Wilson might have DM'd me first on either Discord or Twitter, and he said, hey, did you see Charlie Kirk got shot? And I was like, no. And he's like, I got a really bad video. I'm going to send it to you. And he sent me the up-close video from like 7 feet away, effectively, where a .30 caliber round strikes him in the jugular and his shit pops out. You know, like you see like a massive arterial spurt. And I was like, holy shit, that motherfucker's dead. And then sent it to Josiah, sent it to Destiny. They're all like, holy shit, holy shit, holy shit, that's crazy. You know, blah, 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 blah. And then Josiah's like, hey, I'm hearing from people that he might be alive. And for a second, I'm kind of like, I'm thinking to myself, like, there's no fucking way. Like an arterial hit that close. But there was a hospital on campus. Maybe he survived. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. But then what is true, because I learned about this during like Combat Lifesaver, is the necrosis. So even, let's say they had like clamped the artery in his neck, the trauma of having a .30 caliber round go into your neck, a lot of that tissue would die. So even if they somehow got the blood flowing through the left side of his face so he didn't instantaneously die, let's say they were able to clamp the artery and then they were able to get somehow through like veins and capillaries, they were able to get blood flow back through that side of his body. The necrosis from shocked and damaged tissue would be so bad that he would die eventually anyways. And so like I entertained the concept of him being alive for a second. And then I was like, no, there's like a not like we could check the text between me and Pondering, because Pondering was like, oh yeah, I keep hearing reports that he's alive. And I'm like, okay, I put it at 0.01 that he's still alive. Right? Excuse me. So anyways, so what did he do that's illegal, MAGA? Sure, but they're slurred, right? They're dumb. They're dumb and they're bad, and we shouldn't be dumb and bad. Audacity for 5 says, have you tried turning it off and turning it on again? That's actually shockingly been a shitload of my approach to the past week. But the whole point that I'm bringing up to you is like, what's the joke? The joke is that you want to run on stage and slash somebody's carotid. That's your joke. You understand. And somebody said like, oh, Connor would never fantasize about violence. No, I fantasize about violence all the time. But I'm very clear with you guys when it's a fantasy. And not only that, I make it extremely hyperbolic to the point that you guys know that it's a fantasy. Okay? So for instance, this is something that I've brought up repeatedly. repeal the 8th Amendment and crucify people who sexually abused teenagers in the Epstein files, publicly crucify the people who knowingly covered up the Epstein files, denaturalize Hassan Piker, fire him from a trebuchet into the Caribbean, and then force him to swim to Cuba, because if he comes back to the United States, he faces capital punishment for being an open ideological enemy of the United States. What are the chances that I'm going to be able to climb into Congress and repeal the 8th Amendment? I'll tell you, it's pretty much zero, okay? If there's even a percentage possibility of me repealing the 8th Amendment, it's almost zero, okay? What are the chances that I'm going to be able to denaturalize Hassan Piker and then convince vast swaths of the United States that he should be fired from a trebuchet into the Caribbean? The answer is not totally zero, but it's almost zero. So, if my hyperbole is zero, almost a 0% chance of it ever happening, whereas his joke is running onto stage and slashing somebody with a box cutter, clearly his hyperbole, his joke, is infinitely more likely than my hyperbole. Infinitely more likely. And arguably, the Destiny saying, oh, conservatives need to be scared to say what they say in public. That way they pressure the admin to cool the rhetoric down. Arguably, stochastically, this is what Stephen wanted. Stephen wanted schizos to show up to public events and to make people uncomfortable. He wanted schizos to stare down conservative pundits when they say wild shit in public. He wanted them to be worried about whether or not they're going to get stabbed when they go to public debates. You cannot tell me conservatives, quote unquote, should be scared to go to public events, then have a schizo talking about slashing the jugular of a conservative pundit, and then being like, oh, these things have nothing to do with each other. You're either coping or you're pissing on my leg. Yeah, Alishna says, that's insane, Connor. Come on. Fuck you. No, it's not. No. Fuck you. You're coping. You're coping. Starkoggy says, you're being bad faith. Lol. You can't articulate how. You cannot articulate how. I guarantee you can't articulate how. You're using bad faith. Bad faith is a word that pedophiles use to identify each other in the wild. Okay? Every time you say bad faith, you are shooting a flare gun up into the sky and you're saying, I'm a pedophile. Okay? So, articulate how I'm wrong or don't. And if you can't articulate how I'm wrong, you're fucking coping. Oh, he was just being descriptive. You're a pussy. You're a pussy. He's just being descriptive. Get the fuck out of here. Cope. Cope, seethe. I'll die mad. You're coming with me.
See the chat. They're all thinking the same thing, it seems. No one seems to be bothered by this because it has become so commonplace. He knows he can do this. YouTube's not going to do anything.
Done. Sorted. Prison forever on the one hand. Prison forever on the one hand. And then I should have gone. Then I should have gone woke jihad. Woke jihad. I should have gone for the white race or something. I don't know.
You could say, oh,
Okay, that part's funny.
okay, well, he just worded that poorly. It's just an expression, but he takes this much farther. Then he gets into based on.
Okay, hold on. Let's address woke jihad. Okay? So, woke jihad is funny. I'll admit. Woke jihad is funny. And for the white race, being post-ironic in order to confuse people about your motivations, that's funny. But it's not as funny when you realize that there were post-ironic jokes with the Charlie Kirk assassination. Putting the catch this fascist and then the fucking like up arrow, side arrow, down, down, down. Those were post-ironic jokes. So if we have post-ironic jokes on a recent political assassination, And then this guy's like, no, it's a post-ironic joke. This is what Destiny 1 Encounter is insane? How? How? It's the obvious consequence of the Fed posting. It's so obvious. It's so obvious, it's fucking insane. Audacity says, people wishing or fantasizing violent actions or others had never actually operated violence or had a bare firsthand witness to it. It's a joke to them, but its operation requires you disregard your humanity to perform it. And then I think that's a quote from a veteran. Yeah. Thank you for the oil, by the way. Seriously, thank you for the oil. I appreciate it. But yeah, I'm supposed to think this is a joke? What's the funny part again?
On what happened to Charlie Kirk. This is what I have learned when it comes to how to kill conservatives.
No, I feel like my genuine psychopath thought that I've learned from the Charlie Kirk killing is if you are going to assassinate a political target, then try to reduce the gore as much as possible so people can't sympathize with the bastard who's getting it. So you'd have to go up with like a cape and like cover him in a cape and do it cleanly under there, you know. Like,
You understand this is unironically true, and this was argued in the wake of the Charlie Kirk shooting. In the wake of the Charlie Kirk shooting, there were lefties, unironically, on Twitter and TikTok saying, it's a shame that his execution was so public, because since his execution was so public, it made people sympathize with him and his family.
an abattoir.
So he's literally openly talking about assassinating political targets here. So the question is, well, why? That's what I wanted to understand. That's why I take the time to even look at these streams.
It's all like dog whistling. We need to secure a future for the white people.
He makes it very clear. His belief is Konstantin is a racist.
And all it is appealing or dog whistling to the stupidest voters, like the dumbest 10% of people who happen to be racist as well. Stick up for racism.
But then he talks about the real problem here is the weak white culture of the UK.
We simply don't have the white people stepping up and educating themselves in the right kinds of ways because of culture issues, I guess, because of the weak white culture.
He is the very thing he thinks he is fighting against. His entire analysis of Konstantin's ideas are absolutely mischaracterized. He's not contending with them at all.
Fine. Void a parrot. Send me the original. Send me the original. Let's watch the original. You're saying, oh, this is clipped out of context. It's all funny. Okay, so let's see what we've seen so far. I was staring down Konstantin Kisin. I was distracting him from the debate. I was staring daggers into him. I could run up with a box cutter and slash him in the jugular. I would probably want to wear a cape. That way I could cover up the gore. That way people would be less sympathetic to him. He's basically a white nationalist. He's pretty much saying the 1488 words. He's just saying them in a different way. You know, if there's some, sorry, yes. No, see? And my ma just walked in and she thinks I'm saying this. No, I'm calling out people who are saying it, and I got people who are saying, oh, it's all just jokes, it's just jokes, it's just jokes. And my ma is like, what the fuck are you talking about? She didn't use the F word. She's a very nice lady. Yes? Well, there you go. Bad faith. You're a pedophile. Snizzler, you're a pedophile. Whenever you say bad faith, you're saying the quote unquote, you are a pedophile. So if you say the word bad faith, you're a pedophile. Bad faith is the laziest, dumbest counter argument that you could possibly make. And if you say bad faith and you can't articulate how it's bad faith, you're a pedophile. I don't make the rules.
And then he uses those ideas as his justification.
Based on these fucking ideas, for me to vote for the Green candidate, you retard piece of shit, Konstantin. I fuck like slap, mug, you mug.
Well, the thing
This provides us a window into this mentality, into the psychology of people like this. It's important to understand. It's important to see.
we hadn't also at the same time had the doctrine.
A lot of this.
Is this guy's name Nathan? Nathan took down his channel, but if you look up his name, Digital Gnosis, you might find some of his combos on other channels. So hold on. This is a joke. This is a joke, but he took down his social media. It's a joke, and he could have explained it away, and the context would really, you know, it would help out. If we could watch the original, it would help out because we would realize how much of a joke it was, but he nuked his social media presence. That's the most cope shit that I've ever heard. That's the most cope shit I've ever heard in my life.
This would be much easier to manage if I got on that stage, grab his fucking lapels, right, flip in, and fucking ip-on, bang, right over. You know what I'm talking about? I'm talking about right over my hip. Konstantin's right over my hip. I've got his fucking lapels, bang.
I genuinely don't understand it. Even if you disagree with Konstantin, how could what he's saying upset you this much?
You're right. By the lapels, fucking hoof. Right, I'm talking bang. And his whole body just goes, bosh, into the fucking wood. That's what I'm saying.
People will claim this guy doesn't have a massive reputation, okay? But we see these same ideas reflected at a higher level. Literally just yesterday, I stumbled on a stream where Destiny's head moderator is
Audacity for $5 says, if Mama Points is calling it out like it is, I think we're inclined to agree. Good.
trying to talk to Destiny because he is concerned, because he is seeing too many calls for violence in their Discord server, and he's beginning to worry that people aren't actually joking.
Yesterday, I think Destiny referred to it as like kind of school shooter vibes going on as far as how people are talking in a way that makes people think that like not just radical and like I'm so tired of people saying like, well, Trump did radicalize me. You should be radical under Trump. I'm talking about radical as in like gonna cause violence in a way that isn't what everybody thinks it is kind of way. And I know like your argument is like, well, people like Trump and things like that, like they can say this stuff openly. And like, I completely understand that argument. My argument is that people aren't taking this serious. And if they are taking it serious and they are meaning the words that they're
Jamie Harris says Warren leaves out the part where this guy says it's not worth it, which is basically the same as Connor saying, well, I would never be in power. That's fucking retarded. That's so dumb. That's so fucking dumb. What do you think the chances are of somebody actually running up and slashing somebody's knife or slashing somebody's neck with a box cutter versus what do you think the chances of me repealing the 8th Amendment are? If you had to throw them up statistically, how likely do you think one is to happen compared to the other? Is it a factor of 100,000? Is it a factor of 1,000,000? I mean, I understand that like understanding fractions and rates is difficult, but if you can't understand that slashing somebody in the throat with a box cutter is 100,000 times more likely than Connor repealing the 8th Amendment, then you're a fucking idiot and you shouldn't be in this chat. Fellrunner for 5 says, do you think this is having any kind of mitigating effect on right-wing rhetoric? What are the downstream effects of discourse from the right, if anything? I don't know, man. I just know it's bad behavior, and I'm not going to encourage it.
saying, and they're not joking, that is the problem.
Okay.
Everyone's joking, though.
But everybody's not joking, though. My concern is that we are vastly approaching like point of no return in our own rhetoric within the community. And I think that it is being furthered by us not addressing it.
I'm forced to ask myself.
Do you understand that this is why I think you guys are coping? And anybody who says bad faith is a pedophile. Okay. I think this is Hobbit Follower. Hobbit Follower, I think, is running the Discord. He might even be part of the Reddit team. And he's saying that the Fed posting is going so far that we are past the point of no return to the point that he doesn't think everybody's joking. He thinks there is a schizophrenic who's going to do something crazy. He does think that they're effectively inculcating a culture of mass shooters in the Discord and the Reddit. This isn't me. This is Destiny's community manager. They turn this into content. So once again, anytime you guys are like, oh, no, it's all jokes, it's all post-ironic humor, ha, 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 you're full of shit. You're full of shit, and you're coping past the problem. And that's not my fault. Yeah. Yep. Fuck yourself. Fuck yourself, Zogger Unboxed. No way Connor's point of social understanding and tether around reality is a Reddit mod. Yeah, notice how you've addressed nothing I've said. Notice how that doesn't change a single fucking iota of what I've said. I've said that the Fed posting has gone enough that there's stochastic inferences that can be made that effectively what's happening is they're using Destiny's extremity, Soy Pill's extremity, the Live and Learn crew's extremity, and they're using that as a social pretext with which to excuse their own bad behavior. And then a predictable bad behavior emanated, which is somebody attending the Konstantin Kisin debate, and then Fed posting afterwards about how they were like moments away from murdering Konstantin Kisin, but they held off on the back end because they didn't want to go to jail or prison. Well, what happens when somebody sees that and they're like, oh, haha, that's really funny, but I don't care about going to jail or prison? Right? Well, what happens when one of the tens of thousands of people who are making these jokes day after day after day after day after day, one of them goes, you know what? I'm tired of joking about it. I want to be about it. Zogger says, you said, look, a Reddit mod agrees with me, and I'm just pointing out that I want a good point of reference. I don't agree with your overall point. It just wasn't grounded well. Okay, well, ground my balls, Zogger Unboxed. How about that? How about you stop having autism? I'll stop trusting Hobbit Follower to have an opinion on DGG's community and how Fed posty it is when you stop having autism. So never.
Of how is this, if YouTube is going to kick off people like we've seen them kick off, why is this tolerated?
Thank you.
Yeah, Konstantin.
I mean, we introduced new things, so I don't know. I don't know what the monoculture is. I hear
people are going to claim, yeah, but this guy's not famous. He's not. No one really knows who he is. That's why. But how is that even relevant?
And multiculturalism, which have, instead of creating a monoculture into which people are encouraged to buy in and integrate, have instead created a society.
Pantomiming a sniper attack. Anonymous Chatter for 20 says, why should we listen to neocons on how to beat MAGA? Make an appeal to authority for me, Booby Bear. Way I see it is y'all lost the battle for the Republican Party. Why should we be taking your advice, not lose the entire country? Good luck with it. Don't listen to me. The Republican Party didn't listen to me or my ilk and exploded itself, bankrupted all of its morals and principles and beliefs about the world, and 20% of the country is now a cult around a pedophile. That was against my advice. I said, don't form a cult around a pedophile dumbass. And they were like, fuck you, Connor, we want to win. We're going to form a cult around a pedophile dumbass. And we're going to bankrupt all of our morals, all of our principles, all of our argumentation about how the world should be. We're going to destroy ourselves. We're not going to have an ideology or principles or North Star. We're effectively going to become fascist nihilists. And now the entire Republican Party is falling apart. And if you want to do the same thing on the left, good luck. But I'm going to be criticizing you the entire time. And I'm going to tell you to go fuck yourself when you do it. So when you have some fascist pedophile leading 20% of the country on the left, and they constantly appeal to authoritarian bullshit in order to justify their power, then I'm just going to say, good job, guys. I warned you about it for a decade. You didn't listen to me. You fucked up the country even worse than it was already fucked up. Congratulations, you fucking idiots. Good luck. Good luck. So Roman Ronan says, the issue is, do you think Destiny agrees or contends with the idea that these comments or behaviors of Fed posting is okay? Yeah, I think he probably thought it was okay up until he saw it. Yeah. I think because he knows that there's plenty of right-wing schizoids who effectively do stochastic rhetoric at all times, he views this stochastic rhetoric as just balancing out MAGA. Why would he argue any differently? MAGA does this shit all the time. You have the President of the United States laughing about cruel and unusual punishment in reference to alligator Alcatraz, drone striking Caribbean boats. If you make excuses for that administration, why should you get to moral frog about people Fed posting about your death when you meme about deaths all over the planet? Connor, do you think self-defense is a thing? Absolutely. Wait, why would you say he thinks it's okay if he didn't know about it? Because this was a predictable outcome. It's a predictable outcome. And if you didn't think it was a predictable outcome, you have autism. Okay? You have a social development disorder that makes it so you don't understand words and consequences and the way that they correlate and interact with people. You have autism. Okay? Zoomer says, being serious, I do think it's worth confronting Destiny on the firefighter comments. The Republicans should be scared of violence. Destiny is fostering this community of people. Okay. If something were to happen IRL to someone, how could we be surprised at this point? That's what I'm saying. Fellrunner with the 5 says, I think Connor's point is there is a difference between fighting a tyrannical government and enabling trouble-style public violence, and we should be wary. Yes. Yes, I do have autism. I am unsurprised by that development. All right. Is Destiny's speech in response to Trump a predictable outcome? Absolutely. 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 Taze says, so you are just ranting for an hour over your mind read of Destiny? Nice. Is that sarcasm? I don't know who your comment or what your comment is meant to be saying, Taze. Am I wrong?
In which people are encouraged to see themselves as members of an individual community.
He fails to see that he is the very thing he thinks his opponents are.
About 40 died. But this is what I hate about these people, is like they make a career, right? They make a career out of violent and aggressive politics and riling it up and stoking it up.
So therefore we should take them out because they're riling things up. They're too full of hatred, so we should hate them.
And then they're like, oh, thank you for letting me discuss the ideas and ruining your fucking country with all this bullshit.
Oh, so they're ruining your country, but Konstantin can't have concerns about people ruining his country.
I think that concepts like England were created in order for monarchs to consolidate power in their kingdoms.
And if this continues, it will only get worse.
And this could have gone very differently. How do people get to the point of what you're saying in this video? Well, it all comes down to the laws of narrative. There's always going to be people that wish you harm. You just have to learn how to spot them. And if you're interested in these concepts, I do have a book coming out in August. I've been working on this for 2 years. I began writing it when I was...
Okay. The guy that we were watching, by the way, I think is a dumbass. Just because he took the clips, built them into a 10-minute video, and then Warren is a dumbass. I'm not talking about Warren. I don't give a shit about Warren. He just took half a dozen clips and put them in. But the point is, I'm not going to scrub for a 3-hour video in order to find this dude Fed posting. And you guys can just say, oh, it's just a joke. You know what was a joke? You know what was actually funny to me? Woke jihad. Okay? Woke jihad is funny. All right? Saying, I am so progressive that I am willing to do an Islamic-style terrorist attack in the name of progressivism. It's absurd. And it's funny. That's funny. The rest of it, even if the guy's like, oh, it's post-ironic, it's post-ironic, it's post-ironic humor. Okay. Okay. That doesn't mean that you are not inculcating the same kind of culture in which somebody eventually is not going to be joking. And by the way, I would probably be saying the same thing before Charlie Kirk got shot, but I'm definitely going to say it after Charlie Kirk got shot. Charlie Kirk got killed in September. It's currently March. That was 6 months ago. I know in the internet age, that's like 1,000 years, so it might as well have happened during a different lifetime. But in the real world, that's 6 months. That's almost nothing. Jamie Hare says, but you're also assuming he's being honest by running with his take. I don't care. I don't care if it's post-ironic humor. You understand that Nick Fuentes has appealed to post-ironic humor for a decade now, right? You understand that he said, oh, it's all just jokes. It's all just jokes. I don't actually want Hitler. I don't actually want authoritarianism. And then you just keep watching him and he's like, oh, no. He returns to sincerity, right? Like the whole thing about post-ironic and meta-ironic humor is that you make a sarcastic joke. Then I forget which one it is. I think it's meta-ironic. Meta-ironic is you say something serious as if you were being sarcastic, but then you return to sincerity. Then the post-ironic is you just say wild shit until, and like nobody knows where you stand, and you play in the absurdity for humor. Sam Harris, or it's not Sam Harris, although that would be funny if Sam Harris became a post-ironic meta-commentary comedian. That would be amazing. Sam Hyde always claimed to be a post-ironic satirist comedian. And then he talks earnestly and it's like, oh shit, he's a fucking like white nationalist. So, yeah, fuck off. Anonymous with the 5 says, imagine a shirt with a grill on it. Above the grill it says grill hotism. Under the grill it says it's not a cult. I'd buy that. Well, shit, we just need to make that. Oh my God, please no PF Young talking points. This isn't even a PF Young talking point. It's a J-Reg talking point. And you would have to articulate how it's incorrect, Timothy Douglas. You're my favorite Timothy over Timothy Martinson, but I'm in a fussy mood today. All right, anyways, let's check out the North conversation. Apparently we are doing Valor Reacts today, so we got 2 hours, hour and 45 minutes before we do that. So we might as well watch the North conversation. And then Taze was saying that there's a segment. Somebody told me the timestamps approximately. Sorry for huffing in your ear, but I'm actually like, I'm so fucking annoyed. I'm so annoyed. I am a pissy person. And by the way, the only reason why I didn't react to this conversation between Hobbit Follower and Destiny is because it's very slow and very dry. But, like, this completely backs up my point. Hobbit Follower basically says, we have a shitload of schizos in our community pages right now who are fed posting about violence, and I think a shitload of them are not joking. So that's the entirety of this conversation. So you want to say, oh, you're just appealing to the thoughts of a Reddit mod. No, I'm appealing to somebody who is the digital community manager of DGG. So, Fellrunner says I already gave it to you on Discord. Well, can you send it to me in a DM? Go to stream suggestions. Okay, I could go to stream suggestions. Oh, God, my brain. We got so many channels. Oh, sorry. Video ideas and content. Here we go. Thank you. Jack Handmass says, Cotter, have you seen Professor Jiang's material? No, but apparently, like, everybody has just decided that Professor Jiang is a schizophrenic and no longer deserving of any kind of credence whatsoever. I think I saw him pop up saying that Iran was going to win the war, and I was like, this guy's a fucking idiot. So that's where I was at. Let's find where they actually jump on. Does he sit there while IRI talks for a bit? I'm going to go for when IRI jumps off, because I'm assuming that's where the combo starts. All right. Full screen. Starkogi says, where's the proof for any of this, by the way? Starkogi, you're new. So I'm gonna give you some latitude. Use proper nouns. So where's the proof of any of this, by the way? Say, where's the proof that North jerks off to lesbian porn, right? Use proper nouns when asking questions so I know what the fuck you're talking about. Because if you say this or that, when I have 115 people in chat, it's hard to know what you're talking about when you're not using proper nouns. Hedonic Samuel with the 10 says, Happy Friday, Condor. My kindergarten teacher was a moral realist, made me look at Cat in the Hat very differently. I am simultaneously psychically damaged and also think that's quite funny. Stop. Just prove yourself wrong by playing the video. I don't know who North is. I don't care. Let's go. That literally doesn't tell me anything. That doesn't tell me anything. It wasn't about winning the war. He was using game theory to explain that the point of the war is attack America economically. All right. He even claimed Israel will be the winner of this. I mean, that's probably true. Connor, you can get with this, or you can get with that. Choose, white boy. No, that's me. Start with Mootin so we can be mad at him first. You got a timestamp? You got a timestamp? All right. Anyways, let me do an intro and get cracking. Spicy day, spicy day, spicy day. Little fussy today, in case you haven't noticed. All right. Hi, guys. Welcome to Counterpoints. My name's Connor. I'm a science fiction, politics, and philosophy nerd, a Marine Corps and law enforcement veteran. I would argue a real Republican. And today, I'm going to be checking out my real Republican brother, North, debating Destiny. Now, I don't know if it's specifically going to be about Fed posting or if it's going to be about efficacy in the upcoming election. Apparently, the conversation kind of gets a little away from North. He was actually DMing me after the fact and saying, hey, I think I could have presented my ideas a little bit better. So I actually have no idea what's going to happen. But top right corner is North. He's a good egg. He's my friend, my online friend, but my friend. And I want to continue to be his friend. And Destiny is down here. We're going to let them argue. Let's go.
Do you want me to just start, I guess, or
yeah, we'll run it down. First of all, introduce yourself.
Okay, yeah. Hello, I'm North. YouTube.com/NorthIsLife. Gotta get that chill in. I'm a Never Trump Republican. I'm willing to work with the Democratic Party because I think that the current MAGA movement is trying to destroy our Constitution and destroy our republic. And want you guys to beat the illiberalism out of the Republican Party so that we can return to some sort of normalcy.
Cute.
That is sort of my position, as it were.
Okay, and then run them down. What do you got for us?
Okay, so 4 specific things. What does it mean to erode/reinforce a liberal institution? What is a deterrence and how do you create it? Possible prescriptions for fixing the system, and then the way that you currently use your rhetoric in your community and how that's kind of radicalizing people.
Okay.
So I think there's 2 things that we kind of have to agree on before we 2 or 3 things we have to agree on before moving forward. The first one is that our overall goal is to return to a liberal democratic framework, like going back to where people operate in the system in a good faith manner. Can we agree on that?
Correct. I agree with that. The second thing, the way you phrase that, yeah.
Okay. And then the hypothetical scenario.
The reason why I say the second way you phrase it is because I don't think it's enough to just return. We need to return. Returning can't be taking 5 steps back. Returning needs to be taking 5 steps back and then going down a new pathway. So not just resetting the clock, but trying to change the way that we're which I think is what you meant. Yeah, just to clarify. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Fatima with the 5 says, can you put Destiny in the title to bring in more Schizo Dgg-Ers? Probably not, to be honest. Yeah.
And then the second thing that we have to agree on is that the hypothetical scenario that everyone is giving is a Democrat win in 28, generally involving a majority in like the Senate and the House. So with these two, and then what was it? One more thing. We agree that a use of force is needed to create a deterrence for bad actors in the future.
What do you mean by use of force?
As in, like, there's some sort of negative outcome for the people that are using like illiberal actions in our government currently. Yes. So these are sort of the three things that we agree on, and now what is generally disagreed with between the Connor and the Hutch conversations is how is that the negative outcomes achieved? Is it through quote unquote Hunter Bidening them, or is it through using existing codified law in order to punish these people? Would you agree that that's sort of the disagreement happening right now?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Sure.
Okay. Okay, so let's get into what it means to erode / reinforce a liberal institution. So this is what the general vibe that I've got.
The reason why you're not hearing me interrupt as much is because I feel like they're still laying the groundwork. I don't know if it gets more spicy later on, but effectively all I've heard so far with Hunter Biden compared to the whatever system, right, is Connor's watching Rule 34 Warhammer. I hate you. The only people you're allowed to goon to are Sisters of Battle. So the Hunter Biden, what I think he means is that there was undue pressure from the Department of Justice in order to punish Hunter Biden as a way to attack Joe Biden. And, okay, I'm already at 1.15, bro. I'm already at 1.15. And if the words are sticking together as they're coming out of his mouth, to the point that all the words are sticking together, that's fast enough, okay? So if you need to go back and watch the VOD, watch the VOD. So anyways, the point is that I think he's just talking about like using the full weight of the government in order to go after your enemies, in order to cause a witch hunt that doesn't result in indictments, or it's used and it does result in indictments. I think that's what he's alluding to with the Hunter Biden thing versus like the normal due process of law of appointing a pseudo-neutral attorney general like Merrick Garland and then just having Merrick Garland go through the arguments, right?
Gotten from your live streams, you would say that you can temporarily divert from liberalism and generally obeying the Constitution in good faith in order to save the Constitution, in order to save liberalism in the future, I guess.
Sure. Yes.
Okay. You ever watch Code Geass before?
Yeah, that's my example, motherfucker. But go ahead. I'm not gonna get stabbed though. But go ahead.
Okay. In Code Geass, there's a quote in there, in which they ask Lelouch, if you use evil to destroy evil, does evil remain? And they kind of point out obnoxiously that it's a paradox, because if you use evil to destroy evil, then evil will remain.
Classic anime tropes. A lot of
Yeah. I'm kind of taking sort of the same logic, in which if you want to create a future system in which everyone adheres to liberalism and like operating within good faith with our government, you have to be able to punish everyone involved in illiberalism, and you cannot selectively punish just the other side or the ones who started it first. Otherwise, you're creating a like a reinforcement mechanism of that being the most effective way to institute like change in our government.
I think I disagree with what you just said. Can you restate that?
No.
Otherwise, it would be a violation.
You cannot selectively punishment and expect to go back to a liberal system, I guess, is what I'm saying. Okay, it needs to be universally punished, no matter if it's on your side or if it's on the other side.
Okay, so I'm going to challenge this a little bit. We can speak around this and how you feel, okay? One issue that I have with a lot of these types of conversations, and to be fair, this actually comes up a lot, even in ordinary behavior, is I don't know how you would describe this in moral philosophy or whatever, but I think fundamentally the second actor is not the same as the first actor. So, for instance, we would say we understand this intuitively when it comes to like the concept of self-defense, right? If somebody takes out a gun and shoots somebody, and then he's going to go shoot somebody else, and then you go to shoot that guy, nobody would ever say, if you're trying to stop people from shooting people, you can't shoot him, because now you've just created more shooting, and you're never going to stop people from shooting people, right? Well, they would say, well, hold on. The reason why the second guy is shooting, paradoxically, is because he wants there to be less shooting. Does that make sense? What I said. You don't have to agree with my full thing, but just are you following that so far?
I'm following it just fine, and I'm happy to get into this, but nobody is saying don't shoot. And this is actually part of what pisses me off about DGG coming in. And Patriarch, by the way. Patriarch being an Euler veteran of the channel saying, so you just want to do nothing? They might have been just trying to actually piss me off. No. I don't want to do nothing. Once again, let me bring it up, just so I'm transformative in my commentary. I want Democrats and Never Trump Republicans to get together, not squander political momentum leading up to the midterms, encourage aggressive voting in the midterms in order to have a sweeping majority in the House and a strong minority in the Senate, and ideally a weak majority in the Senate. Make Donald Trump a lame duck for 2 years while passing any bipartisan legislation that actually improves the lives of Americans. Enforce the Epstein files release so Donald Trump and his cronies take a huge optical hit that damages them in 2028. Attempt impeachment, maybe even incarceration if you can get a few Republican defectors in reference to Donald Trump and his cronies. And then in 2028, I want to run a white, straight male, preferably Christian man who is progressive enough to suggest needed reforms, but moderate enough to appeal to normies, and strong enough to take the fight to J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, and call them pedophiles/mass murderers through their complicity with the Trump regime. I want them to win in 2028. I want them to nuke the filibuster and pass reforms for pardon power, pass treason and sedition exclusions to the pardon power, expand the DOJ to have a sedition and treason task force, clamp down on foreign disinformation and FARA violations like Tenet Media, clarify the process for the 14th Amendment insurrection clause and exclusion, enforce said insurrection clause and exclusion against Trump people in good faith without being extrajudicial, and then use the FCC to enforce disinformation violations and the furtherance of crimes, and then pass a legislative agenda that's actually good for the American people. There's nothing wrong with this game plan. And this isn't doing nothing. So to characterize this as, oh, you just want my enemies to be able to shoot me and for me to not shoot back. No, this is how you shoot back. This would be like somebody trying to rape you. Like, actually, I want you to follow me out on this analogy. I know Destiny loves rape analogies. So this would be like somebody is trying to rape you, and then you say you need to rape them back in order to achieve justice and make sure they don't rape in the future. And what I'm saying is you don't have to rape them. You can just shoot them with a gun. Right? I think that makes sense. Anonymous Chatter for 2 says SCOTUS will never let Congress reform pardons. Okay, well, do what you can, right? Happy L. Ron Hubbard Day says keep your Billsteins. Thank you, King. I'm going to keep that up.
I understand the analogy you're trying to make. I would disagree with it.
That's fine. Okay, we can get to the disagreement. But so,
okay.
I'm
going to go get a refill of black tea. I'll be right back.
So I think that when it comes to like shooting, I think that there's like two different things we could talk about. We could talk about like the actual physical, like the actual act of shooting, right? And I would draw a parallel to that to like the formal organization of a liberal democracy, like the system. But then we can talk more abstractly to an environment of shooting. And I would abstractly refer to that as like the concept or the principles of liberalism. That there might be times when we might have to unfortunately violate the norm of no shooting, but it's because ultimately we really are trying to enforce the ideology of the concept of no shooting, much the same that like there might be times we have to step outside the formal structure of liberalism in the hopes of enforcing the ideals of liberalism.
Going to get tea. Be right back.
Whether or not that action is good or bad. Now you might, even looking at all of that, you might agree with my whole framework. I don't see you, but you might agree with my whole framework and you say, I understand everything you're saying. I still disagree that that's possible. That's fine. But fundamentally, the second actor here who's trying to adhere to the concept of liberalism, but is working outside of liberalism, those actions are fundamentally different than the person who is working outside of liberalism, attacking the concept of liberalism. Does that make sense?
Okay, yes. I can say that the intent given between the two is definitely different, and you can create a differentiation between those. but
Okay.
the outcome that is achieved is not one in which we return into someone where there is no shooting, and that we can get into this more if you want.
Okay. Gotcha. I disagree with you there, but we know where our disagreement is. That's fine. Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. So, the analogy of like, so you're going to be using a gun in self-defense in order to prevent someone from shooting you. That I don't think we would necessarily disagree with that, but it's more of a like let's take the example of like war, for example, or like a civil war. In war or a civil war, you have to inherently use illiberal tactics in order to defeat your enemy, right? Like no one would say like, oh, why can't we just like vote away the Japanese after they attacked Pearl Harbor? Like you inherently have to use some sort of force and impose.
I prefer otherwise to never, ever, ever have to use, right? In an ideal world, we are never, ever going to war, blowing people up, blowing ships up, whatever, right?
In an ideal world, yes, but the scenario that we're presented with, that being a Gavin Newsom win in 28, it's not so much as you're using your gun in self-defense. It's more like someone broke into your house, you tied him up, and now you're deciding whether you want to execute him or not, and then call that self-defense. That would be more of a proper analogy, in my opinion.
So, what if it's not tie them up and execute them? What if it's whip their ass? And the reason I say whip their ass is because we're not actually eliminating the entirety of all political opposition in the United States, but we would do some damage to it such that it would disincentivize all that future behavior. The reason I don't like
but I'm saying that instead of beating their ass, you just call the cops, and then you have the system handle it.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that's unfortunately we're begging. Like, if I felt like this was a thing that the system could handle, then I mean, we would still be speaking within the system, right?
Sure. But then if you feel like this is something that the system would handle, obviously we want to be operating in a society in which we don't take these actions into our own hands, and we have more of a system in order to do good. So in order to, if we feel like the system is inadequate or needs change, then our effort should be on fixing the system in the future. Otherwise, we have a society in which, in order to resolve our problems, we're just beating each other up in order to create deterrences.
Okay, but can you put a pin on this here, and then I want to back up to another thing that I think is kind of important for us to resolve. Do you think that there's any system of... Wait, first of all, can I ask, what's your background? Are you like a college student?
I'm just a random college student.
Okay.
I'm a first year community college, going to go into political science. So.
Okay, gotcha, cool. Just curious.
I'm a pilot, if that helps.
Yeah, no, edgy joke, sorry. So here's a question. Do you think that you can devise any system of rules or devise any system? Yeah, we'll just say that. Can you devise any system of rules that will be impervious to bad faith actors, people that are continually trying to break said system of rules?
In the moment in which the bad faith actors are actively in power, no, I believe that is impossible, and I think you would agree with that.
Yeah, but then my next question is going to be, can't
we... Well, sorry. Let me back up. There is a stipulation to that. Like, we can create rules and systems to prevent bad faith actors from happening, but in an ideal world, we want our executive to be able to operate with some degree of like freedom in order to execute the power or to like protect America, ideally.
Sure. Not necessarily getting to like executive or anything like that. Just like basic questions on like rules, I guess. On like, is it possible to create a rule system that can survive bad faith actors? And
while they're currently in power, then no.
Okay. So I would argue that even when they're not in power, I think that that's impossible. And when I say bad faith actor, what I'm referring to specifically is a person who is trying to circumvent the rules in a way that still accomplishes what the rules were trying to prevent. So an example of this might be in Monopoly. You land on a property and a person has like 4 houses on the property, but when you look at the board, like one of the houses is actually like a little bit scooted off. Have you ever played Monopoly before?
I've played Monopoly before, yes.
Yeah, sometimes when you hop a piece around the board, things get like scooted around the board. And so you're like, oh, actually, I'm only going to pay the rent for 3 houses because one of those houses was kind of like, it was knocked off a little bit, right? And I mean, like, by the letter of the rules and the laws or whatever, I guess I would have to read the exact wording in the Monopoly rulebook, but it's not unfathomable to me that the wording could be such that you could get away with that. If it's like, well, 3 houses placed on a property, it's like, well, it's not placed on it, is it? Because it's a little bit off, right? like, I don't think that my contention is, this actually might be fundamental and important to, this might be where our foundational disagreements are. I don't think you can create any system of rules that is impervious to people that aren't engaging in good faith with your rule set.
Okay, this is bullshit, and I brought it up. I brought it up in the Destiny debate, and I think it's a fundamental misunderstanding of Roman and English common law. I truly, truly think that this is a fundamental misunderstanding of the history of common law. The history of common law arguably goes back to the Bible. Okay? There was a Code of Hammurabi. There was the Bible. There was the Roman common law. And then there was the English common law that derived from the Roman common law. So what happened with common law is that societies have legislators who create laws in order to prohibit social ills. And that is like the rule of a legislature within a governing body. And so arguably, I'm going to go Evo psychology on you real quick. Arguably, what happened was Moses, as the chief of the Jews during Exodus, is he started seeing the same problems over and over again because he was the adjudicator of tribal disputes. So somebody bangs somebody else's wife, somebody lies, somebody steals, somebody's worshiping some pagan dickhead god, somebody abandons their parents in the desert, whatever. Whenever that happens, effectively, you know, we need to create a rule in order to prohibit this behavior. So the 10 Commandments, and then basically, like, if we have a legal dispute, we can reference the 10 Commandments in order to see who is in the right and who is in the wrong. And so the 10 Commandments is one of the first attempts at codified law. Patel says, so what? Bitch, you best not be talking to me and saying, so what? You best be talking to somebody else. If I start going on highlighting the history of common law and you say, so what, 30 seconds into it, you're not going to fucking make it. Okay? Anyways. So the point is that Rome was incredibly similar. But because Rome had a codified legislature, what they did is they codified new things over time. So they would have marriage laws. They would have divorce laws. They would have murder laws. They would have theft laws. And through the nuances of various situations, if they found out that a law was incapable of dealing with a antisocial behavior, then they convened a legislature in order to pass a new law. So this is where Destiny's saying, oh, well, you know, if people don't want to engage in your system in good faith, then you can't, you know, basically expect them to follow the rule of law. Therefore, you might as well start from scratch. That's horseshit. The entire history of the codification of law is criminals looking to engage in immoral behavior that circumvents the legalistic prescriptions of the legislature, and then that patch getting patched. And arguably the reason why, excuse me, the reason why the English based their common law off of Roman common law is because Roman common law was already based off of centuries of experience. And the reason why the United States based their common law off of English common law is because they had centuries of experience. And we've evolved our laws over the past 250 years through our legislature. So pretending that, oh, well, you can't just patch the system as you go, that's the entire historical development of our society. It is a wildly ahistoric thing to say. But Destiny just got into history 30 seconds ago, so I'm going to try not to give him too much fucking flack about it. Sacred Snow says Cotter didn't even try to pronounce Patel's full name in a racist accent. Bro's phoning it in today. Okay, let me go back. Let me find Patel real quick. Where's that motherfucker saying so what? Where are you, Patel? Where are you, Patel? I want to racistly pronounce your name. Somebody block you already? God damn it. I can't even find Patel's full name in order to racistly mispronounce it. Patel, pipe up. Pipe up in chat so I can make fun of your name in a horrible Indian accent. Damn. Skill issue. Oh, here we go. Patel Sapanahagi. Patel Sapanahagi. There you go. There's my racist pronunciation of your name. Sapanahagi Patel. There you go. Grassroots says you win a Monopoly with didactic word games. I win Monopoly by stealing from the bank while people are in the bathroom. Nice.
I think you can. And I think this is like the fundamental disagreement.
Yes.
You maintain that you can use some sort of force after the fact in order to create like a deterrent to prevent bad faith actors from doing things in the future. I'm just wondering where's the disconnect?
Wait, real quick, just so I can also have ultra crystal clarity on that term. A bad faith actor is somebody, again, who's trying to achieve the outcome of breaking a rule without breaking a rule. Bad faith actors are not people who break the rules. So for instance, let's say somebody knew for some reason that two states didn't have like an extradition agreement or something with each other, and they got an AR-15 and they sniped and killed their neighbor from across state lines, knowing that for some really weird reason they'd never be held accountable for it, even though all of us agree that like murder is bad, we don't want people murdering. That would be a bad faith actor. Somebody just murdering somebody would not be a bad faith actor. That's just a bad person who's breaking the rules. Okay, just to understand my distinction there. When I say bad faith actor, I'm not talking about people who are breaking rules. I'm talking about people who are trying to effect the outcome of breaking a rule without breaking the rule. Does that make sense?
Yes, I would agree with that. I wrote down a definition of like what it means to erode like an institution. So like usually an institution has like a mission statement. So if you like abuse an institution in a way that it wasn't like originally defined or created for, then that might be considered like eroding an institution or like using powers that were usually not given to an institution, or maybe even failing to use those powers when you're supposed to. Like that would be. Would you agree to this definition of like these being erosions of?
Not only do I agree, but I think a Republican-led Congress is currently failing in its constitutional duties to impeach and remove Donald Trump from office.
Institutions? Or...
It could be, yeah. These could be some examples, yeah.
Okay. So I agree on your definition on bad faith actors. I just don't see the connection between the use of force, which we agree on, creating a deterrence, and why that use of force cannot be codified in law. Is the limitation that the law applies, like the narrowness that prevents it from being effective, or what exactly makes the fact that it's codified in law, the use of force, ineffective?
Because you're trying to codify something in law where you're trying to effect some outcome. But the thing that you're trying to codify into law is being used against people who already know what the law is, who are trying to circumvent those outcomes. So in the future, they're just going to find more ways to try to circumvent whatever law you pass.
That's just human nature, bro. That's just all Destiny has done is he's described the entirety of the legal profession. That's all he's done. All he's done is he just described lawyers. Oh, well, if there's people who don't like obeying the rules, they're going to look for loopholes and excuses to get out of obeying the rules. You just described the entire legal profession. 80% of our legislators have Juris Doctorates. 80% of our legislators have been scumbag state prosecutors, defense attorneys, public defenders, corporate lawyers. They're all lawyers. Literally, like, I mean, I'm probably exaggerating a little bit, but I swear to God, between like 30 and 70% of the people in Congress have a Juris Doctorate. So like, okay, you literally described the current state. You've described the state of affairs for America since its inception is people writing rules and people looking for ways to break them. It's very silly. Hedonic Samuel for 10 says, going to lurking mode, trying to convince myself not to fire anyone today. COG, give me strength. Bless you, Hedonic Samuel. I wish you luck.
Yes, I would agree that they would do that, and that's how it's been for the history of law in like all of human history. But
yep.
That's the point of the Republic is we do not. That's a good thing about having a liberal democratic system is that it's not stagnant. It is able to change for the future in order
Yeah,
to
but I would
account for
disagree.
these
I don't
new
think
things.
the law system, yeah, is supposed to account for new things, like new laws that you might need to pass for new technologies or new environments, whatever. But I don't think it was there to try to patch itself against bad faith actors.
No, it has, and we've done this before in history, and our republic didn't implode because we didn't punish people retroactively for them operating the system in bad faith. Are you familiar with the spoil system in U.S. history?
No. Does that have to do with Game of Thrones spoils? No, I'm just something to do with Lord of
I've never
Rings or
watched
Battlefield or
Game of
something?
Thrones,
No, what is it?
Okay, so in U.S. history, we had this thing called the spoil system. So basically, we've always been a two-party system. Whenever one party would come to power, they would basically fire everyone involved in the opposite party. And then whenever the reverse would come around, the opposite party would just fire everyone who was in the opposition party, and they'd hire all their friends. Basically, it was massive political corruption. And this ended in like the 1870s with the civil service reform acts, I guess, and basically it gave more rights to people working within the government, so they couldn't be like arbitrarily fired just because they were associated with a previous administration. I would argue that this was people operating with our system in a bad faith manner, and we were able to reform the system for the future, and our republic didn't implode because there was no retroactive punishment.
Can you give me an example of like how do you feel like that's acting in bad faith? That kind of just sounds normal to me. Like when a new administration comes in, you're swapping a fuck ton of civil service. It seems like it was. My guess is that one.
I'm trying not to cry. Don't cry, Connor. Don't cry. Don't cry. Isn't the whole complaint about DOE and PEPFAR and USAID is that the Trump administration came in and fired and dismissed and restructured and gutted the mission of the civil administration? What is this appeal to normalcy? Well, how could you cry about PEPFAR and USAID and the DOE getting gutted if you just say, oh, I think it's normal for one administration to get in and gut all of their sycophants, or gut the opposing side sycophants? Like, arguably, North just articulated how we got a deep state. Because effectively, a shallow state would be one that didn't have any roots, was totally deracinated, didn't have any roots. And so as a result, every 4 years, you would just like rip shit out and start from scratch. But obviously that was so counterproductive that we stopped doing that in the 1870s. And we didn't have any retroactive punishment for that, like, unproductive behavior. And we formed the basis for the deep state. But now Destiny is saying that's completely normal, even though what we're crying about in the modern environment is Donald Trump gutting the deep state. Harstar says cry. I might. Fast and Bulbous says, Cotter, that's a gay tea drinking fallacy. Oh my God. All right. You guys are, yeah, I'm about to cry. Yep. Okay. All right. Let's keep going.
In time, the government was small enough that maybe this wasn't as big of a deal. But as the government grew in size more and more, that just wasn't a very realistic way to govern effectively in the future. But I don't see any part of that that's necessarily like bad faith.
Like you would say that it wouldn't be expressly illegal, but it was not like healthy for the republic, and it wasn't, I guess, necessarily like what the founders intended when it came to how our government was supposed to operate. I would argue that would.
Apparently, Greece still operates that way. We have this like crazy non-binary Greek cop who was a part of like the left wing in Greece, and so different police departments in Greece are by appointment. By civil appointment, and they don't have municipal police. They don't divide it up between like city, state, county, and fed. They just have fed, and that's it. And so the federal police, whenever the rival party gets appointed, they fire everyone who was a part of the previous administration. And so as a result, they just like flip-flop police officers every 4 to 8 years because they do that shit. Connor is stupid sometimes too. None of y'all are perfect. Hutch and IRI are the closest. Lol. To what?
It might not
Considered
necessarily
bad
be
faith.
healthy. I don't think it's healthy for the Republic, but I think that's like an appropriate thing to legislate out of, because it's not like the people that were doing that were trying to functionally avoid. Remember the earlier definition I gave for bad faith actors, somebody who's trying to affect some outcome that was supposed to be avoided with some rule in place. And I feel like that was just a thing, maybe again because the federal government was so small or had such limited roles in the very beginning of the country, that was just a rule that we didn't have, that nobody really agreed should even exist, because it was just not a thing. It just wasn't an issue. And then when it became an issue and they started to pass rules to make it so that that wouldn't happen, then that no longer became an issue. But I don't see that as being similar to people that are trying in bad faith to circumvent. Like, what rule would you say those people were trying to circumvent other than just like general principles of governance? That
I believe there were like earlier civil service reforms. Like this was a series of acts, and it ended with like this one massive legislation. Basically, they would create the civil service reform, and then people would try to like bypass it with like some new loophole, and then we would eventually keep patching until we were sufficient enough that this wasn't really a problem for the future.
That's
sure,
how legislation works.
I mean, I would say some of those people might have been performing in bad faith, I guess. I'm not necessarily opposed to like closing some loopholes. I don't think that's necessarily bad, especially if they're glaring and obvious ones. But I don't think that a system can survive if you're trying to reform your way out of or patch things against people they really know the rules and they're really just trying to break them, or not break them, but they're really trying to go against what the spirit of that rule was, in ways that are stupid.
This is silly. It's silly. In the 19th century, we probably had prohibitions against colonists spreading westward. They spread westward anyways. We had slavers who clearly were violating the spirit of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. All they argued was that black people were like an abhuman species that weren't fully human, despite them raping them and propagating slave children. So that was a pretty clear spiritual violation. When it comes to Reconstruction, the clear attempt was to try to build a unified society out of something that had been destroyed by the Civil War, and there were plenty of Southerners who didn't want that. They wanted to lionize and make legendary the Confederacy of the United States. So while it would still be subordinate to the federal government of the United States, they would still be able to carry on their culture of white supremacy, black inferiority, segregation, and quote-unquote separate but equal laws, which clearly were not intended to truly be equal. So the whole point is that, like, yeah, we've had bad faith actors the entire time, so saying that a system can't survive bad faith actors is bullshit. It's ahistorical.
That's not a great way of explaining it. Are you familiar with all like the J6 stuff?
Yes, I'm familiar.
Okay. Yeah, so like for the electors thing, right? Like their plan was they wanted to break the Electoral Count Act. And
yes.
Their claim was, well, we think Pence might have a constitutional thing here that he can, enact on because the vice president has the authority, blah, blah, blah. But also they knew, and I think Eastman said to Rosen, that if that was before the Supreme Court, initially said they'd probably lose 2-7, and then maybe they'd probably lose 0-9. But also it wouldn't matter because Trump would already be president. Like these are bad faith actors that aren't just like breaking norms or whatever. They're like,
sure. And for violating a currently sitting statute, they should have been incarcerated. Be right back. Need to use the restroom.
Intentionally. Well, I guess here it's bad because I'm saying they're breaking a law actually. But I mean, there's thinking.
Yeah, it's literally breaking a law that I think you could create enforcement mechanisms. So I think I have prescriptions that I want to get into in the future. I don't know if you want to get it into now, but I think one of the things is the fact that.
Well, I was gonna say we can get into them, but like this is pretty foundational because like I'm probably gonna agree with most of the things that you're gonna suggest, or maybe not. We'll see when we get there. I just don't think that they would be effective in deterring future people that are like intentionally trying to circumvent whatever the rules and laws are. But yeah, go ahead.
Well, there's circumventing like the rules and laws, and there's acting in like a criminal manner. We can differentiate the two, right?
Yeah. But I find the criminal stuff is fine. Fucking act like a criminal because if you break a law and you're doing a crime, you're gonna get fucked. We have a good system for dealing with people that are being criminals.
Well, I would argue that that's one of the reasons why the Trump administration is able to act so corruptly is because it's not sufficient enough and it needs a reform. So basically, like the presidential immunity when it came to official actions, that Supreme Court ruling, that needs to be narrowed way the fuck down. I think in order to create like a more healthy system, and then probably either eliminating or reforming like presidential pardons, where like Congress is like able to get rid of specific or maybe all presidential pardons with like a simple majority vote. I think that would make our system a lot more healthy as well.
I agree with both of those. For pardoning, I thought that I feel like it'd be interesting if the president just submits a list at the end of the year. These are the people I want pardoned, and then maybe the Senate or Congress, has to just sign off on it or something. Like I feel like
no, I think pardons are good for like I think they can be good for doing it beforehand and just being able to undo them after the fact. I don't think there's a lot of people that have been discussing and saying that's retroactive punishment by undoing a pardon after it's already been given. I wouldn't think so. Then again, now that I'm thinking
why do you
about
think being able to wait? You're saying you should be able to undo pardons?
Undo pardons, yes.
Why is that?
That way the president can still have the ability to just like pardon people if they see fit, and you don't need to create like a partisan fucked Congress issue. If you want to, if there is someone that legitimately like probably should be pardoned for whatever reason, the president can just operate like that. But if they ever operate corruptly, then the Congress can keep them in check.
Why not just have them so the Congress has to approve them?
I mean, you could have it that way as well. It's my personal opinion. Both of them achieve the same thing. That the pardon power is kept in check. That's more of like a very minor thing.
Sure. Some sort of congressional check on pardon power, I think, would be good. I think it's good.
Yes.
Okay. What else?
What were we talking about before we got to prescriptions? Lose my train of thought.
Just kidding. No. It was bad faith actors. Can you make rule systems against bad faith actors? And then I told you to put a pin in it because we were discussing. Were you about to go into reforms you wanted to make?
Well, yes. Well, I have a whole list of reforms, but another thing is what is a deterrence and like how do you create one as well? Like I kind of want to get into the nitty gritty of that.
So for deterrence, for future deterrence, is this for future deterrence?
Yeah, future deterrence basically. So I think we can argue that if you have a bad faith executive specifically, with like a Congress that are unwilling to check them, there isn't necessarily much you can do to punish them while they're in office. Any like negative action you're going to have for them is going to have to be in the future after they're out of office. So that's why we call it a deterrence, is future fear of punishment or a negative outcome.
Yeah.
Starkogi says, so after 11 years of this, do we just Pokemon go to the polls, which will now be surrounded by federal agents? Yes. Yes. You go to the polls. You get a majority in the House. You get a minority in the Senate, but like a 49-51 minority. You appeal to Republican defectors like Massey and Lauren Boebert. You try to find a few other Republican defectors who are willing to come with you. You'll win in 2028. You nuke the filibuster. And then you start passing legislation that's going to repair the republic. Correct. And I think everything else is Fed posting, LARPing bullshit. Okay? I'm going to pull it up because you guys seem sympathetic to the Fed posting. So I'm just going to pull this up because this is all I'm seeing, but I'm seeing a Walmart tweet. This is all I'm seeing from you guys. And it really annoys the shit out of me. Because I thought you were better than that, okay? And if the shoe doesn't fit, don't wear it. But people on Twitter be like, you believe in voting? That pales in effectiveness to my strategy, firebombing a Walmart, and then they don't firebomb a Walmart. This is DGG to me right now. And then effectively somebody was like, ha 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 ha, wouldn't it be funny if I actually firebomb the Walmart? And then they mimicked like creating and throwing a Molotov cocktail. And I'm like, oh shit, you guys are LARPing about firebombing a Walmart, which is not going to be an effective strategy. And then somebody almost did. That's y'all right now. And it's pissing me off. Once again, if the shoe doesn't fit, don't wear it. But that's what I'm seeing and that's what I'm hearing.
For like, how would we hold these last people accountable?
Well,
wait, I'm sorry. When you say deterrence, you're only talking about going forward, right? You're not talking about the current people in office, right?
Starquoke says, I never said don't vote. Okay, Starkogi. So you're saying you love me. What else do you want to do? Besides voting, what else do you want to do? What is not on my list that's on your list? Be specific.
Going forward, yes.
Gotcha. I mean, I guess.
Well, and I kind of want to get into that specifically as well. Of do you need to have precedent in order to create a proper deterrence? That's like a big thing.
What do you mean by that?
There's a lot of people I've been arguing with in your community that have been making. They basically say you cannot create any proper deterrence unless you have some sort of punishment created, like in the present, even if it's not like codified in law. That they just need to be punished first, and then you can create the reforms, and that's how you create the deterrence.
There's like two things going on here, I think. If you're talking in general, you can deter things in a lot of different ways. But with specificity to this current moment, and then, hold on, I'm trying to think how to phrase this. I think
we have the same list, but your focus is trash. That's my problem. Literally, that's a nothing statement. That's a nothing statement. Your focus is trash. What are you focused on that I'm not?
Deterrence exists for good faith actors is who deterrence exists for. But I'm using good faith. I'm using a very weird definition. I don't know if it's fair. Like, generally speaking, I don't know how, or we could tease it out. Like, I view criminals to be different than, I view criminals differently than I view bad faith actors. So, like, I would say deterrence works against criminals. So people that are just out there breaking laws, robbing, murdering, whatever. Those people can be deterred with laws and stuff because when they get caught, that's part of, that's part of the game. That's part of what happens. But for bad faith actors, I don't think you can deter them with reform. They have to feel like there's something outside of that that can get them. Otherwise, I feel like those people are.
Starkogi says, okay, tell me more about how liberals are radical in the problem and should just temper their language and vote. Notice how you didn't answer my question. I said that we should focus on, as an anti-Trump coalition, do I need to read it again? Starkogi's making me blame Starkogi. If everybody in chat is like, no, Connor, don't read it again. I already heard it. Why are we reading this again? No, blame Starkogi. Okay, blame Starkogi. Don't blame me. This is my game plan. Don't squander political momentum leading up to the midterms. Encourage aggressive voting in midterms in order to have a sweeping majority in the House, a strong minority in the Senate, and ideally a weak majority in the Senate. Make Donald Trump a lame duck for 2 years while passing any bipartisan legislation that actually improves the lives of Americans. Enforce the Epstein files release so Donald Trump and his cronies take a huge optical hit leading into the 2028 election. Attempt impeachment, maybe even incarceration if you can get a few Republican defectors. In 2028, run a white, straight, preferably Christian man who is progressive enough to suggest needed reforms, but moderate enough to appeal to normies, and strong enough to take the fight to JD Vance / Marco Rubio and call them pedophiles / mass murderers through their complicity with the Trump regime. Win the 2028 election. Pass reforms for pardon power. Pass treason and sedition exclusions to pardon power, if possible. Expand DOJ for sedition and treason task force. Clamp down on foreign disinformation FARA violations. Clarify the process for the 14th Amendment insurrection process and then do it. Enforce voter fraud statutes. Use FCC to enforce disinformation violations in the furtherance of crimes, and then pass a legislative agenda that's actually good for the American people. So this is my focus. This is what Hutch wants. This is what arguably Lonerbox wants. This is what I want. What do you want that is different from what I want? And what are you focused on that I am not focused on? And if you cannot articulate it clearly, then I think you don't know what the fuck you want. You just know that I'm criticizing people that you like. You don't acknowledge half the shit I say. I preload some MS Paint statements to attack an argument no one's arguing for. What I say, it's bad faith and I'm a pedo. Or you could just answer the question literally right now. You could say, I think you're focused too much on electoralism and we should focus on the cultural zeitgeist. Then I'll call you a bad faith pedo. But you could at least articulate what you want to focus on. So... and if you can't articulate it, I'm assuming you're just upset that I'm criticizing people that you like.
Deterrable. So I say that because you said you're arguing with people who are saying, well, you can't deter anybody without doing anything retroactively. But I think more so what's happening is you're trying to set up deterrence for people that are trying to circumvent the rules. However, you just can't do that. But that goes back to, that's why I said we kind of had to go to that other conversation about, like, do we have a fundamental...
Oh, my thoughts are too complex to fit into a sentence. Oh! Starkogi's Starkogi's too smart for us, chat. He can't articulate in a single sentence. It's got to be really complex. It's going to be mind fucking blowing. All right.
Disagreement here, because I don't think you can deter bad faith actors using reforms. Maybe you can patch it up a little bit, but they're always going to find some wacky loophole or wacky way around it. Yeah.
I think you can create a deterrence with reforms, and even if they're operating in that bad faith actor, I think there's legislation you can create in order to prevent people from operating like this in the future. But yeah, if you want to go back, we can talk about what legislation could be created, or I guess if you can definitionally create a deterrence through reforms. Want to go back to the pin?
Want to go back to the, what did you say? Pen?
The pin. Sorry.
Oh, the pin. Yeah, sure. Go for it. Yeah, go.
Okay. Do you have any historical examples that you know of that is feeding into your opinion, or you're kind of like vibing this out when it comes to there can be...
I'm going to fast forward until Mootin gets here. Because honestly, I'm just in lockstep with North. And there's really nothing for me to articulate. I think that Steven and his ilk are advocating for a vague sense of like Fed posting and being extra angry and being extrajudicial and packing the courts and going after every Trump Republican the same way that people went after Hunter Biden. And if the courts don't rule in your favor, then just do it. And then I do add in the soy pill thing because I view soy pill as just one step further. Soy pill said on Live and Learn, effectively, if that fails, let's say that you try to go after Trump in order to punish him for what he did during his terms, and you fail to do so, and the courts prevent you from punishing him adequately, then at that point you could just kill him. That's what he said. Like, how else am I supposed to take that? That's just Fed posting. That's just stating that we should do violent crimes against our enemies if we are not able to rectify the results that we want through the process. That's all that is. So basically, once again, people are coming in, they're like, no, you misunderstand them. They're joking. It's meta-ironic. It's post-humor. Dude, if I'm seeing this, half of my chat is seeing this. Destiny's own moderator of his Reddit and of his Discord are seeing this. If, I'm literally explaining back to you the quotes, and then the few people in my chat who are actually fighting me on this topic are like, well, you just don't understand. And I'm like, how don't I understand? And they say, it's too difficult to explain. I think I understand it just fine. I think you're just coping. McDevin for the 10 says, jumping on the improper noun bandwagon to piss off Connor. Streamer, what can they do to stop the things done by others? Be specific with your answer or I will get pissy about your poor response. True. I mean, that's what I'm saying. So, streamer, what can they do to stop the thing? I would just literally repeat the agenda that I've already repeated 2 or 3 times throughout this stream. So anyways, apparently what happened, or what does happen, and Taze was super pissed off about this last night. Travis Taze, I trust as much as I trust North. I arguably trust Taze a little bit more because we have longer history together. But Travis Taze came in furious last night because apparently after North has like an extended good faith conversation with Destiny about the limits of the Fed posting and legalistic process and patching up holes and, being able to use violence through the state in a justified way versus illegal shit. Apparently like Mootin jumps in and calls North an F slur and Taze was furious. So we're going to take a look at that. This is ultimately an empirical argument. Is there any game theory research that supports either of these arguments? I don't know. Connor, they are arguing for a commitment to the teleological aims of liberalism if it ever comes into conflict with procedures. I've been spurging all day on this. Okay. Sure. You really beached out back there, Stark? I have no idea what that means, Snizzler. That's a weird thing to say. I don't know what that means.
I'm not aware. I understand that you're saying that. I'm just saying it's such a deeply, unbelievably crazy environment that I have to sit here and navigate through. Like, what is the responsible way for rhetoric for my audience when I have the president tweeting about how he can break no laws and that he has the popular mandate to do anything? And
Sounds sounds like he's defending Fed posting by appealing to President Trump Fed posting. I'm gonna rewind 5 minutes.
Radicalizing your community. So Connor and Hutch have both tried to get you to like give prescriptions for like how to make everything better, and it feels like you're intentionally, maybe not intentionally. It feels like you're kind of dodging in a way. Like you said that it's arbitrary when it comes to like the usage of illiberal tactics. I believe that's like a quote that you used. Are you familiar with like when politicians don't commit to like a specific policy or like specific rhetoric? Like, I'm an American and I love democracy. Like that doesn't really mean anything when they're running. They're trying to appeal to like a broad amount of people, and anyone can interpret what is being said through that rhetoric.
Sure.
I think that's kind of what is happening whenever you are giving prescriptions to your community about illiberal tactics.
Sure. When I say, I don't know how many more times I can say this, but like when I say that like I don't care particularly about the thing, it's because the thing is arbitrary. Because if you decide to do the thing, we can figure out what the thing is. An example of the thing would be that email that I read you earlier about like submitting every single neighborhood in Washington D.C. into the United States Congress as its own state, and then passing amendments and Supreme Court backing from there. Because now we have 200 states in the Senate, and like 180 of them or whatever are fucking Democrat, right? That's
okay.
What I'm saying.
Yes.
I'm saying like if I were to sit through and pour through the Constitution or go through a bunch of Harvard Law articles, I'm sure I could find like 50 different like goofy, funny things like that and just do that. But that's why I'm saying like it's arbitrary, whatever. Like if you decided you want to do the thing, you can find an infinite number of goofy things to do. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. The reason why the goofy things piss me off. So, for instance, the goofy things that Destiny or that email suggested, which I found obnoxious, was have the FBI seize Twitter and then prosecute Elon Musk for ITAR and FARA violations. I am all about subpoenaing Elon Musk's private records and communications in order to pursue ITAR, which is like the International Training and Arms Regulation, I think. And then also ITAR and FARA, Foreign Agent Registration Act. I'm all about enforcing FARA and ITAR. Love that. Let's take a look at the way that Elon Musk has operated Starlink in reference to the Russian-Ukrainian conflict. And then let's look at his private communications. And then let's see if there was any coordination between the Russians and Elon Musk in order to fuck over Ukraine. And if we find it, let's prosecute Elon Musk to the furthest extent of the law. I would love that. I think that's great. Do you know what I don't think is great? Is using emergency war powers in order to nationalize and shutter a social media website. And Destiny saying that this is equivalent to Elon Musk buying Twitter or that Israeli guy buying TikTok. A private citizen who has their own political agendas biasing a social media website towards their idealed politics. Saying that those are the same thing is so mind-numbingly fucking stupid. It actually blew my tits that he even tried to say that shit. Then the second one was like nationalizing SpaceX and then like shuttering, like scavenging it for parts, shuttering it, and turning over everything to NASA. The only times that I'm aware of industries being seized by the federal government is during a time of war. So effectively he's saying, yeah, let's use war powers in a civilian context. And then, by the way, at that point where you start arbitrarily seizing private companies, once you start using the the seizure of private property in order to justify insane legalistic reaches to punish your political opponents, you understand at that point, everybody just says, okay, the entire system is broken. We cannot expect it to be objective between the political tribes. Therefore, everything is on the table and it's a struggle for power. That, yes, special government employee Elon Musk. Okay? So yeah, that's, and those were the first two talking points.
Oh, okay, yes, you're not wrong there. But when you are giving specific prescriptions, it's not necessarily like that. How should I... Hold on, I need to think of a way to... Okay, when you're operating within law, there is, like, specific texts that you can refer to for like where the limitations are, how it should be applied, and then there's like, I guess, a higher authority like the Supreme Court that you can appeal to if there's any sort of like ambiguity in how the law is applied. And that's like a good thing. When we're talking about using illiberal tactics / unconstitutional tactics, whatever you want to call them, in order to get your political policy done, there's no line in the sand, as it were, to sort of appeal to or like limit your.
My tax dollars funded it. Number one, most of us make under $100,000 a year. So let's be real. You probably spent between 10 and 30 grand in taxes per year. So your tax, whenever somebody says you're like my tax dollars, I'm like, bitch, we got a $6 trillion federal budget and we have a $4 trillion tax revenue. How much is your 30 grand? That's a maximalist perspective as well. Let me pull up a calculator real quick. Where you're like, my taxes, and it's like your taxes bought a tenth of an MQ-9 Reaper drone. Let's relax with how much taxes you paid. And by the way, that's not to say that taxes aren't burdensome. I do think that saying like, well, my tax dollars paid for it, so I can do whatever I want with it. I think that's a very silly libertarian line of argumentation. So let's do $30,000 in taxes, and that's on the high end. And then let's divide that up into $4 trillion. So 1,000, million, billion, trillion. So you are 0.00000075 of the taxes. Connor, when you were a cop, did anybody use that line on you? Always. Well, I pay your taxes, so I don't know why you're giving me a hard time. And it's like, because you were doing 100 miles an hour in a school zone. That's why. Okay. But subsidization. If subsidization, like, if that gives us the right to nationalize, then let's nationalize agriculture. We subsidize that industry by like 30 to $50 billion a year every single year. Why don't we nationalize agriculture in the name of national security? Why don't we nationalize? We spend billions of dollars in subsidies on law enforcement every single year. Let's federalize and nationalize all of law enforcement. Let's federalize and nationalize the entire oil and gas industry. Is done through tax deduction and subsidy. So let's nationalize oil and gas. You know, why don't we nationalize education? Education has huge tens of billions of dollars of subsidization from the federal government. Let's nationalize education. Why don't we just concentrate as much power as possible into a single location and then just expect exclusively moral people to wield power once we've concentrated power into a single location? That sounds brilliant. Connor, our taxes combined, dumb take, all of our taxes and none of Elon's? Okay. Okay. My point is that we shouldn't be concentrating power, because even if you got a good person into power temporarily, it's only a matter of time before a bad person is in power. It's the same problem with the Roman Empire. Marcus Aurelius was amazing. He was a wartime general. He arguably ruled Rome at its peak. And then we had Commodus immediately after him. Once you have extreme concentrated power, then it can be wielded for great effect by good people, and it can be wielded for terrible effects by bad people. And the truth is, just on a statistical basis, even the good people are incredibly flawed, and there are a ton of bad people in the world. The reason why we defuse power in a republic is so it checks itself. So you guys saying, oh, well, in reference to the right-wing consolidating power, we need to consolidate left-wing power, and then we need to wield it for good. All you're doing is you're just making power more concentrated, so the next time that it's picked up by the other side, it destroys you. The fact that, like, we don't understand the value of republicanism is insane to me. It's like Civics 101. You probably heard about this in your middle school history class, but you were too busy, you know, smoking pot and getting to second base to pay attention. Anyways. Hi, Ruth. Ruth, you did DM me, and I'm sorry for not responding. In reference to shooting on the 28th, I think they said the week after, but I'll reach out to them again to find out the exact date. But it should be either late this March or early next month. And I'm sorry for the delays, but, you know, they got lives too. Fast and Bulbous with the 5 says, stochastic terrorism reminds me of the clitoris. It seems real. It seems important, but I'm not falling for that. I've broken free of the lies. All right. Base super chat.
Community. And I feel like that's why we're seeing like a lot of radicalism.
I'm not advocating for fucking like assassinations or whatever. I'm advocating for illiberal radical like legislative things or whatever, or maybe even executive actions. I'm not saying that like we have to go fucking shoot up schools or whatever.
Like I'm not saying that you're advocating for that specifically either, but do you remember that conversation you had with your Reddit mod?
Yes, Hobbit. Well, yeah, I understand this is a different topic. I'm just saying that like radicalizing is a term that's usually used like in a negative context, and I agree that most of the time it's pretty negative. But like, I mean, in response to like a radical administration, like I don't know, maybe like radical action, not like violent action, but radical creative interpretations of legislation. Maybe that's required. You know, like the people that were doing sit-ins and everything for the civil rights marches. You know, they were radical people. Arguably, you could call them extremists or whatever. These are people that are fighting against the cultural status quo. They're fighting against like current law and everything else. I mean, like, and they're breaking the law doing it via civil disobedience. Like, this is pretty fairly radical. I think to some extent, like, I do want to foster some kind of radical thought in my audience because people need to understand that what's happening right now is not normal. If anything, I would say that a huge failing of the first 4 years of our media in the Trump environment, and some people caught this early on.
Dude, Mootin, Taze is saying I just want to get to Mootin stuff. I can fast forward a minute if you want, or a few minutes. So I'll jump to the minute before, but it sounded like this is the beginning. Fudge that. I'll just I'll increase the speed to 125. No, Taze, I'm sorry. We still have a. Well, it's 12:30. I could fast forward 2 minutes. I'm just going to assume that North makes all the argumentation that I make, which is effectively like, hey, even your own community managers are coming to you and telling you that it's getting a little wild in your community. So let me fast forward to literally 60 seconds, maybe 30 seconds. Yeah, Mootin jumps on here. So let's just hear Mootin spurg out on North, and let's defend North's honor.
Here, navigate through, like, what is the responsible way for rhetoric for my audience when I have the president tweeting about how he can break no laws and that he has the popular mandate to do anything, and that there are certain sitting members of Congress that we should be denaturalizing their citizenship of because he doesn't like them and shipping them back to Somalia, or that he should be executing. Like,
by the way, Connor Shillmore, I'm not going to. You guys did an amazing job today. Let me thank everybody who's donated, by the way. I think we hit 3 goals. I think taking Thursday off, unironically, I think you guys were in a psychic spiral, as was I. And so when I came back, you guys were incredibly generous, including by Kay, by the way. Kay was super generous today. Let me thank everybody. Deus Halcyon for the 5 gifted. Grassroots with the 20. Fashion 40 with the 2. Anonymous with the 2. Anonymous with the 5. Fell Runner with the 5. Shapingra with the gifted. Alishness with the 5, Grassroots with the 10, Alishness with the 5, Fast and Bulbous with the 5, Vazraka with the gifted. K, thank you for the oil today. I know it's Canadian dollars, so it's worth 30% less, but you gave me $50. So, I mean, that's got to be like 35, 40 bucks in American. So seriously, thank you for the donation. I do appreciate it. Vazraka with the renewed 5-month membership. Appreciate you. Anonymous with the 2, Audacity with the 5, Anonymous with the 5, Audacity with the 50. Thank you for the oil, bud. Thank you. Audacity with the 5, Fell Runner with the 5, Anonymous with the 20, Fell Runner with the 5, Anonymous with the 5. Thank you for chipping so much it becomes Oil Anonymous, by the way. Jack Hanna with the 2, Hedonic with the 10, Fatsima with the 5, Anonymous with the 2, Keep Your Billsteins with the 2, Anonymous with the 5, Hedonic Samuel with the 10, McDevin with the 10, and Fast and Bulbous with the 5. I don't even know how many donations that are. But that's like 20 or 30 donations. So, like, you guys pretty much hit 3 goals without me shilling even once. And, like, 2 or 3, I think, like, 4 people, they either oiled or they chipped so much it became oil. So, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Like the stream, share it with your friends, engage with chat, super chats if you got them, memberships if you got them. Thank you for the financial support. Even though I'm pissy today, I do appreciate you guys supporting the stream. Well, QC John says, yeah, Connor, my day was discombobulated when I accepted at 10:15 you weren't going live. I don't know what to do. Well, thank you. I do appreciate that. Anyways, let's hear Mootin be rude. Let's attack Mootin on behalf of Taze.
That's just a crazy, 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 crazy world. And I don't see any moral or virtue in pretending otherwise, that there's some like arbitrary rule book. And I say arbitrary because the other side, to them, they treat it as guidelines, if that. Yeah, it's just deeply unsatisfying. It's just that environment run into the future, like, is the destruction, in my mind, is the destruction of this country, more so than any reciprocity or tit for tat or anything that I would be advocating for. I think that is easily puts us on a worse path for the other side to act like they can operate with such impunity.
When we're talking about moral or virtue in terms of like the usage of rhetoric, I guess, do you think that it's creating a positive or negative outcome by adopting this? Like, I understand you would say it makes your community feel good, but if your goal is to expand the democratic base, I guess, do you think that is helping or hurting?
I thought about this a lot on my own. I think honestly, I think on my own, it probably hurts a little bit. It would need to be something I would be more, there would need to be more people on board with it. But I mean, like, I think if more people were on board with it, I think it would help. And the example that I would point to there is Donald Trump. He got to do a whole last insurrection and then won the next election. Did they do that by being nicer to the other side or by saying that they would play within the rules more? Or did he do that by promising to break all the rules, do whatever he could as president, be a 3-term president? How many times did he say he would be a dictator on day one? And then he won not only the election, he won the popular vote, right? So why are we acting like my rhetoric is so...
Well, when we're talking about winning the election, and that's like changing the voter base. That's an entirely different conversation.
What? No, he won. I'm saying he won the election and the popular vote in 2024, right? By engaging in whatever rhetoric you think I engage in, it was that times 10.
Well, yes, but you're appealing to two different people, right?
It can't be that we're that fundamentally different. If so, then the democracy is already over. Then the project is done.
You think that in the appealing of rhetoric and use it, like saying that you want to be a dictator on day one, you don't think that there's any difference, or there should be any difference between the two parties?
Between the voters? I don't think it should be that Republicans are all bloodthirsty animals that are hungry for violence, and the Democrats are like, well, guys, we got to chill out. I don't think that system, if the differences are that exaggerated, I don't think that's sustainable. But also,
I'm not necessarily saying that. It's more a matter of, do you think just people won't vote for Democrats if you're using that rhetoric? I guess. Like,
Snizzler says Destiny is eviscerating North worse than he eviscerated Connor. Honestly, I think the people who make those comments are actually the dumbest motherfuckers in Twitch and YouTube politics. Can you articulate how, Snizzler? I'm going to be racist to Mind Palace people versus NPCs real quick. So non-playable characters are not listening to the words being said. They're just reacting to the way that I don't even think I could find it. They're just reacting to the emotions of what's being said. They're not even listening to the words or understanding what the words are being articulated. Whereas Mind Palace people actually like take what's being said and they build a construction in their mind of the concepts that are being articulated. So Snizzler, I know you're probably fucking around, but like, can you articulate how? How is North being eviscerated right now?
I think that when Republicans use that rhetoric, they're rallying their base and they're appealing to a certain archetype. But if you adopt the exact same talking points, I guess.
Taze is complaining that we're not getting to Mootin fast enough, so let me fast forward to Mootin going green. Okay, Taze. Mr. making 6 figures, taking over my dad's business. I have a girlfriend. I have a real life. I'm only going to dip it. Well, to be in Taze's defense, it's taken forever for Mootin to go green. There we go. We got Mootin going green. All right, here we go, Taze. Oh, my name's Taze. I have a real life now. I got a girlfriend. I'm getting paid money. Oh, I play tennis. My name's Taze.
You're like, well, hold on. Maybe they'll be good this time.
That's literally not what I'm saying.
That pretty much is literally what you just said.
No, that is not what I'm saying. I'm saying if there was a principled conservative Republican.
John Democracy says, articulating concepts in this economy?
That one needs to win in order to signal to the Republican Party that should be like a future type of candidate we should run. But if there is a like fascist populist that is running as a Republican, that person should be crushed by the Democratic Party because I don't want to see that person winning. The goal is to create incentive structures.
Whoever goes up there, you're going to think they're a principled Republican who's on your side.
No.
I mean, we'll see. In 2 years from now, you're going to be voting Republican, and I'm going to be here laughing.
No.
It's triple as. What about in the midterms? Are you going to go vote Dem in the midterms?
In the midterms, I'm going to be voting for Thomas Matson, my local representative.
Okay, what about everybody else? Are you gonna vote Dem down the line?
It depends on the candidate. I'll have to look at the individual candidate, motherfucker. I'm not going to vote purely on party lines. Voting purely on party lines is what led to the Republican Party to be in this bullshit in which we were willing to engage with candidates that were against conservative principles.
At this point, you literally should be voting on party lines in the midterms for a Democrat, because what's happening in the current office is insane.
No, I will.
Mr. Mooten said he liked me, but we would have beef along the exact same lines, because I would say no. If there's a 90% chance that a Republican is going to win a seat, and there's an option between a never Trump Republican and a MAGA Republican, I'm voting never Trump. If it's a toss-up between a Democrat and a MAGA Republican, I'm probably voting Democrat. But I also need to see how bad. Are they like a Gavin Newsom Democrat, or are they a Rashida Tlaib Democrat? Right? Because if it's a Rashida Tlaib Democrat, I might abstain. So coming in and moral frogging and being like, you need to vote for Hassan Piker or else you're evil, I think that's super duper silly. Snizzler says, because you don't recognize that Destiny's prescription hinges on the right-wing leaders telling their side to lower the temperature. Yeah, because the chances of that happening, Snizzler, are non-existent. So now what?
I'll be voting for Thomas Massey, and I will also be voting for Rand Paul.
Well, Godspeed. You're not an ally.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
Okay, well, have fun with that.
Cool. Anything
Look,
else?
if Marco Rubio or JD Vance run in 28, I think both of them probably should be crushed by Democrats. So.
What about JD Vance?
I said JD Vance.
Oh, sorry. I thought you said Rand Paul.
No, Rand Paul is who I said I would vote for in the midterms. If he's... Yes.
Okay.
I think I'm just going to head out then, if there's nothing else to contribute. So
have a good one.
Yep, have a good day. Enemy, apparently.
Was that it, Destiny? Or was that it, Taze?
Or a principled Republican who's on your side.
It's not because I'm necessarily a try to think of looking at my notes for
Taze, we missed it all. It was so fast.
let's see here now. Here to go over.
Yeah, I get fucking triggered when people come in here who are Republicans who are like, "Oh, Steven, your rhetoric to your community, you're being dangerous." Yeah, I don't give a fuck. Okay, Trump is literally out there saying to protesters,
Jesus.
"I want to punch that guy in the face." He's saying the Second Amendment people, okay, they need to do something about it. In 2021, he's saying if you guys don't fight like hell, we're gonna lose everything. He literally started a fucking riot in the Capitol. Yeah, I just don't care. I just don't give a fuck. I don't know why you guys are all fucking crying about it. I hope you vote Dem. If you don't, then you should probably vote that.
Do you understand why I'm willing to like work with the Democratic Party? Or
okay, this seems like the beginning. And if Mooten's keeping this energy, by the way, Mooten should keep this energy for the earlier guy that we watched, right? Why should we cry? Why should we care about what some random schizo in the audience is saying? Why should we care what DGG Reddit and DGG Discord is saying? Trump is way worse, right? So if a guy is pantomiming, shooting somebody in the neck, talking about how to do it optically, talking about slicing somebody's throat with a box cutter, then why should we care? Trump's worse. This is once again where I think you guys are doing like a Rorschach test, where because he's on your team, you want to pretend he's not saying what he's saying, but he is saying what he's saying. He's saying, I don't care. He's saying that's acceptable. He's saying Trump's rhetoric is so bad, why should I care? Okay. I think that's bad. I think it's bad for the country. I think it's bad for you. I think it's bad for the sweepers. I think it's bad for your optics. I think it burns away political momentum and sympathy you currently have. I think it's tactically, morally, strategically stupid. And I'm not going to sit here and just have DGG like seal clap and be like, no, pantomiming slicing your enemy's heads off at a public discussion is totally funny and based. And then have Destiny's best friends saying, yeah, I don't care. That's awesome. Fellrunner is trying to get your attention for what? For what? What do you want?
What?
Just about.
Say again?
You know why that I'm willing personally to like work with the Democratic Party as a Never Trumper?
No.
Okay. Well, the reason is it's not because I'm necessarily a shill for the Democratic Party. It's that I want to use the Democratic Party as a tool for punishing the populist element of the Republican Party. And,
Are you gonna vote Democrat?
Yes, assuming. Well, depends.
Assuming what?
Actually,
Why does it depend?
So if there is a principled conservative Republican candidate that runs in 28 for whatever reason and wins the primary, that Republican needs to win, in my opinion, because it needs to give a reinforcement that engaging
I don't know why
in
you're even on
populism
stream. I don't
and
care. You are literally an enemy of the United States right now. If I'm not kidding, if you look at what Trump just did and what the fucking Republican Party just did, and you're like, well, hold on, maybe they'll be good this time.
that's literally not what I'm saying.
That
Motherfucker.
pretty much is literally what you just said.
No, that
You
is
said
not what I'm
principled
saying. I'm
Republican.
saying if there is a principled conservative Republican, that one needs to win in order to signal to the Republican Party that that should be like a future candidate type of candidate that we should run. But if there is a like fascist populist that is running as a Republican, that person should be crushed by the Democratic Party because I don't want to see that person winning. The goal is to create
The problem
incentive
is whoever
structures.
goes up there, you're going.
Snizzler says Destiny is saying to be meek as understood in Hebrew. Well, number one, it's Greek. It's strikos, and strikos is well, maybe it's Hebrew. I don't want to confidently speak out of turn, but I'm pretty sure it's Greek. And then strikos is restrained strength. I'm advocating for restrained strength. Destiny is arguing for schizophrenia. So no, we do not agree on your assessment of the arguments, Snizzler. I'm arguing for strikos.
Going to think they're a principled Republican who's on your side.
No.
I mean, we'll see. In 2 years from now, you're going to be voting Republican, and I'm going to be here laughing.
No.
It's simple as. What about in the midterms? Are you going to go vote Dem in the midterms?
In the midterms, I'm going to be voting for Thomas Matson, my local representative.
Okay, what about everybody else? Are you going to vote Dem down the line?
It depends on the candidate. I'll have to look at the individual candidate, motherfucker. I'm not going to vote purely on party lines. Voting purely on party lines is what led to the Republican Party to be in this bullshit and which we...
Anonymous chatter saying Republicans seal clapping because it's only dangerous for Democrats to use the weapons Republicans are using against them, but not when Republicans do it first and keep all the advantages. Spare me. Yeah. That's where that second half of the sentence I never said. But when Republicans do it first and keep all the advantages, spare me. No one's saying that. You're literally making up a position to get pissed off at. So, not my fault. If you're hearing something that's not being uttered, then that's not on me. That's on you.
In which we were willing to engage with candidates that were against conservative principles.
At this point, you literally should be voting on party lines in the midterms for a Democrat, because what's happening in the current office is insane.
No, I will be voting for Thomas Massey, and I will also be voting for Rand Paul.
Well, Godspeed. You're not an ally.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
Okay, well... Have fun with
Wait, Taze, you were fed posting about Mootin last night over that? Mootin goes soy for 5 minutes, and you're like, that stupid fat fuck. Like, what? Why, Taze? Why was that enough? Why was that enough for you to freak out?
Anything else?
Okay, so I'm assuming we still got a couple minutes left. It's 12:40. I'm probably going to wrap in like 10 minutes so we can move into Valor Reacts. I'm assuming North North, you did fine. North, from what I've seen, North did fine. So if North is getting stomped in any context, if DGG's like, you should kill yourself. Destiny owns you, little bro. Like, sorry, you guys are dumbasses. Sorry that you don't understand argumentation. That's neither North's fault, nor is it mine. Okay? That is your fault and your fault alone. If I've gone over the same game plan 7 times, I've said why Fed posting is bad 7 times, and you're still like, I want to Fed post, okay. Have fun. You're not doing anything productive. You're making the world a worse place. When somebody gets murdered, I'm gonna say, hey, I fucking told you so. And you're like, wow. When Konstantin Kisin got like a box cutter to the carotid, that was kind of fucked up. Hey, don't you remember all of DGG sweeping for that schizo? who was saying Konstantin Kisin should get nicked in the artery? Wasn't that y'all? Weren't you guys Fed posting about murdering your political opposition for the past 6 months? Wow, it's crazy that shit posting about murdering people for 6 months resulted in a real world murder. That's mind-blowing. I can't believe these things have correlated together through chronology. That's fucking mind-blowing. So let me go ahead. Fel, can you Fel, aka Valorfax, can you send me the Destiny side of it, or should I just pull it? You could send it to me via DM. Worst case scenario, I'll just pull it up on the stream VODs now. Oh, my mind's blown. We used violent rhetoric for 6 months and somebody got murdered. Oh, this is so shocking. Oh, who could have seen this coming except for everybody? Oh, it's like, God. I just all I have to do is reduce my IQ by like 20 points, maybe 30 points. And I'd be right there with you. I'd be like, best. Joking about decapitating people is best. Woke jihadism. It's so absurd. And you know what I hate? You know how Destiny,
right.
You know how Destiny is like, I don't give anybody credit when they say something crazy and wrong, and then they walk it back, and then they get the credit. This was his complaint to Vosh, right? Then they get the credit for not only saying the crazy thing, but then walking it back later. I don't give those people credit. And he's referencing Vosh. I'm not going to give Mootin and Destiny credit when, like, basically they're encouraging their communities to Fed post for like 6 months. Then somebody says some crazy shit and they're like, that's pretty funny. And then somebody gets murdered and they're like, whoa, not like that. That's not good. I disavow murder. Like, obviously, no, you're getting zero credit from me when that happens. Best of Destiny, Monday Mall, the DT, stream VODs. I thought there were two. Why are there only 2? And why are there only 2? And why can't I? Fel, can you said you were going to DM me this shit. There we go. I think I see it now. Here we go. Kick.com. It was on Kick. And I'm assuming you guys want me to fast forward to whenever Moody jumps on. Moody Booty. Where's Moody? Oh, is that Mootin? Is that his PFP on Kick? Not Mootin. Okay, so this is North. North is about to leave. That's just Mootin. I'm assuming you guys just want to watch the like post North shit talking session. Okay, so right here. Let me fast forward a little bit. We're only going to get like 10 minutes of this, but might as well. All right, let's take a look.
Oh, boy. To be fair, I think he meant that there's a 1% possibility that there would be a good Republican, not that he expects it. I don't give a shit. All of the Republicans in Congress right now are fucking complicit in this administration. They abso-fucking-lutely shouldn't be allowed to have the presidency again. It's insane to even think that.
Nizzler says Connor's being extra bad faith today. Yeah, you're a pedophile. The only people who use bad faith in debates, whenever you're like, oh, they're so bad faith, they don't understand what I'm saying.
Trump
no, I understand what you're saying perfectly.
I heard about that, yeah.
And the only people who use the word bad faith are pedophiles.
What, you don't think a strong woman can be in
stop
in a big
molesting
role?
children?
Why are there so many people in stream disagreements? Fuck. Was it Destiny that disavowed you earlier? Well, he disavowed my messaging, yeah. Based.
Is this it? Where's the spice? Moody booty.
And Republicans need to realize that, like Connor, for example. I've never heard Connor, waver on the fact that this Republican Party can't be voted for. Maybe he...
Okay, I'm just going to tell you right straight up. I'm not going to hunt for it. I don't care. Okay? I'm going to tell you right now. Moody booty saying, oh, if you don't vote straight Democrat ticket, you need to vote for Rashida Tlaib or you're a Nazi. I don't trust Moody booty to have like a intelligent analysis of politics if that's his perspective. Okay? So I'm not going to lose any sleep. And if I need to fight Moody booty about this, I'll fight Moody booty about this. Next time I see Destiny Live and I see Mootin hanging out, I'm going to say, hey, you were talking shit about my boy North. I think North is actually a good faith, nice guy. I think he's pushing in the right direction for the Republicans. And you were talking a ton of shit, probably because he's a smaller dude. So if I assume that I agree with North on everything, tell me what problems you have with North, and then I want to fight you if I think that you're wrong on anything. So, Just Julie says, Destiny explicitly said 500 times he's against acts of violence. Oh, we should do extrajudicial shit. We should use the government however we want. We should incarcerate all of our enemies. We should use the legal system in order to screw over everyone in a maximal possible. We should pack the courts. We should do authoritarian things in order to advance a liberal agenda. But I'm against violence, though. Really? That's like Nick Fuentes saying that he's against violence. The fact that you guys can't see the parallel between Fuentes, Lauren Southern, Tucker Carlson, Donald Trump, in the rhetoric that is currently festering in DGG basically just tells me that you're like a bunch of emotionally motivated children. Like you can't carry the logical through line, so you just have to use emotion in order to argue why it's not the same. But you don't actually have a reason for why it's not the same besides it's different when we do it. And it's not. Benter Koo says, it's weird, Connor, since you're crying about random dipshits versus Trump and people being above political power. That's why everyone is so riled up and you don't give a fuck. Yeah, I don't care. Bad behavior is bad behavior. Bad behavior is bad when a slave does it. Bad behavior is bad when a king does it. It's called morality, dipshit. Rob says, Connor, after North left, it quickly moved into a conversation with Hutch, who brought an expert on electoralism to talk to Destiny. Well, that sounds about as exciting as Ambien. Batu Sai making edgy jokes isn't a call for violence, brain dead response. Okay. Tay says, you don't have to fight Moot. It was the conversation those guys were having with him after he wanted you to listen to... I don't see the end of it. Why we mute Snizzler? Connor is using him for one guy content? I didn't mute him. None of that is a call to violence. Laugh my ass off. Keep going with your stupid ass list. Yeah, Just Julius. We watched, don't know if you came in late. I think you were here earlier. We were watching a guy talking about cutting Konstantin Kisin's neck with a box cutter, talking about how to optically do it in order to minimize sympathy for future assassinated Republicans, and then pantomiming, physically assaulting and sniping conservative voices while also leading up the moral justification for why, even though it was illegal and you would be incarcerated, why it would still be a moral thing to do. So what am I missing? Because the answer is I'm not missing shit. You're coping because they're on your team. Everyone I disagree with is a pedophile? Yep, that's correct. By the way, it's not everyone who disagrees with me. It's anybody who uses the word bad faith. If you use the word bad faith and you're not able to articulate how the argument is bad faith, you're a pedophile. Lincoln's suspension of habeas corpus was not illiberal in the same way as Trump's attempt to secure uncheckable ultimate authority over the nation. Sure. Jamie Harris says the difference between Destiny and the others you listed is he's openly making an attempt to deal with it while others haven't. Okay. You think Lauren Southern protesting, you think her going over to Europe and drawing... trying to draw attention to the humanitarian vessels that were coordinating with human traffickers in the Middle East and North Africa, that wasn't a sincere attempt to try to draw attention to mass immigration and its deleterious effects? So, Dorito says, yo, Ambien can be very exciting to see other people on it. There you go. You are not allowed to insult the Supreme Overlord Connor. True. I'm a sensitive guy. Fast and Bulbous says, anyone who drinks tea is bad faith. Damn! A random schizo online, there's less clouds in the sky. Yeah. He's a small bean. Even though Destiny has been Fed posting himself, arguing that his community should be able to Fed post, and it's okay because the other side does it worse. And he's been arguing that for months. Even though this guy went to a Destiny event and a Konstantin Kisin event, even though his own head moderator, Hobbit follower, went on stream 2 days ago in order to basically say, hey, we have potential mass shooters in our community who are joking about doing terrorist attacks and murders, and I think a healthy chunk of them are not joking. But I'm the alarmist, right? I'm the alarmist. Oh, not to mention the fact that somebody in this industry, somebody that Destiny considered a professional peer, was murdered 6 months ago, and we all watched it happen, but I'm the alarmist. Okay. Keep going. I'm going to call you R-slurred the entire time. So, Connor hates being called out. Write a book about how he's wrong right now, or you like kids. Correct. That's correct. You should be able to, if I'm up here and people are constantly arguing with me, hey, say it faster, say it faster, say it faster, say it faster, more clear, more to the point, more clear, more to the point, more clear, more to the point. And you can't write in a sentence or two how I'm incorrect, or even allude to the vaguest notions of how I'm incorrect. And you can only do it through long-winded articulation. That means you don't even understand your own argumentation. You could boil it all down into a sentence. You don't want to. You want an opportunity to just lay out your groundwork without articulating how it contradicts my argumentation. So, wasn't murder definitely a temporary rifle operation? See, even Silver, a longtime friend of the channel, who I love, is memeing about a political murder. So. Just Julius says, damn, that's crazy. How many attacks by a Dgg-Er have been there in the last decade? That's not even close to the point. It's not even close to the point. Old School for 5 says, Connor is arguing with chat. Must be a day ending in day. Have you tried Cogito Hujicha? It's a tea, which might calm your nerves. No. Yeah. So, are MTG and Thomas Massie never Trump Republicans? No. They had independent thought positions, which Trump and his idiot supporters don't like. Yeah. Thomas Massie is a conservatarian libertarian. MTG was MAGA, but then she got betrayed, and now she's upset about being betrayed. She's a member of the Leopards Eating Faces Republican Party. And, yeah. Starkogi says, no way you just said that. You spent 50 minutes on MS Paint. I've only been live for... It's 12:55. I started at 9:30. So I've been live for 3 hours. There's no way I spent a full hour on MS Paint. The articulations on MS Paint were in reference to content. So, wrong again. Zena says, I disagree. Connor, fighting MAGA by voting for a Never Trump Republican is good, but Rashida Tlaib today is better than a MAGA Republican because she doesn't control her party right now. I mean, that could be true from like a harm minimization argumentation, sure. You should vote for representatives that think for themselves and are willing to go against their party. I agree. Butter123 says, heck, not angry Connor is the best debater and holds no prisoners. Wait, so are you saying I should be angry Connor, or are you saying I shouldn't be angry Connor? Because I always get like negative comments whenever I spurg out. MTG was betrayed. I thought she took a stand against Trump on the Epstein files and got thrown under the bus. I mean, all you said was the word betrayed with longer words. Yeah, MTG was betrayed. She stood against the MAGA popular consensus and Trump in reference to Epstein, and she got thrown under the bus. That's a betrayal. Why did you say the word betrayal and then articulated a betrayal with more words? That doesn't make sense. Peter says, Connor, GABA theoroni, magnesium glycinate, soothe the nerves, get potassium. I thought you were listing like a napalm I thought you were listening to napalm recipe. I thought you were like styrofoam, gasoline, diesel fuel, quarter mix. You know, just Fed posting in my chat. Don't worry, Connor. I have hope. I will not give up on you. Okay. Well, I'll try not to give up on you, Starkogi. Christian Blair says, are we pretending that any Republicans that wins in 2028 primary is going to be non-MAGA? Yeah, but then North and I already said what we're going to do. If it's Marco Rubio, but he's all MAGA'd out, or if it's JD Vance and he's all MAGA'd out, then we're voting for a moderate Democrat. That should be enough. Yes, that could be the true and harm minimization view. Motherfucker, isn't that the whole reason you're allied with the Dems? Yeah. Yeah. I would literally have to do an analysis between the MAGA representative and the Rashida Tlaib representative. Conserve says, right, but you painted her as MAGA who was betrayed and seems to leave out the part where she stood against MAGA on principle, credit where credit is due. Oh, okay. I didn't understand that that's what you were implying. Yes, I think it took nads, cojones, balls, in order for her to stand against her own movement and the president that she had dedicated a cult-like sympathy to for years in order to stand on principle for the Epstein files. I agree with you, and if that's the point of what you were saying, then I agree with the point of what you're saying. Connor really out here disproving the Marines can't read myth? Amplifax, that's not true. Listen to my chat, and they'll say I misread them all the time. Often for comedic effect. Not on purpose, by the way. I just misread their chat, and then I get angry, and then I argue with 80% of what they said, and then after like a 3 to 5 minute rant, they're like, no, you idiot. This is what I wrote. You missed these 2 words that totally changed the context of what I said. And then I'm like, okay, my apologies. You know, if you have the dumb position that I fought against, everything I said is true. But since you don't have the dumb position that I thought you did, I still love you, and I'm sorry for yelling at you for 3 to 5 minutes. That's part of the it's part of the entertainment, is me misreading chat. So it's not on purpose. I genuinely misread chat. Anonymous chatter says, keep taking those shots from the bully, little Billy. Punching back is never the answer, little Billy. Connor to his son, Dems. Yeah, Anonymous chatter. I literally drew a drawing that says the opposite of what you just said. And the fact that you said that actually does piss me off. Because you are a regular and a chipper and a oiler. So it just makes me think that you're not paying attention to what I'm saying. And that makes me upsetty spaghetti. So I'm going to pull up the drawing. Everybody thank Anonymous chatter for me having to pull up the drawing. So here's the drawing. Here's the kindergarten. Here's a kindergarten drawing. Here's a teacher. So this is what you guys are advocating for. Lying, cheating, stealing, and hurting other kids, huffing glue, torturing lizards, in general, just being a psycho. That's MAGA right now. And so Destiny is saying, well, in order to prove how bad this is, we should lie, cheat, steal, hurt other kids, huff glue, and torture lizards. Whereas I'm saying, constantly bitch about the rules being violated until the teacher pays attention, and if the psycho comes after you, break his nose in self-defense. And this truly is my advice to my child. I'm not going to tell my son to lie, cheat, and steal and hurt other kids and torture animals in order to prove how bad it is to do those things. I'm going to tell him to constantly bitch about the rules until he breaks and then if he comes after you, break their nose, right? And this, again, I feel like I even have a more apt metaphor, which is the rape metaphor. If somebody tries to rape you, that is obviously evil and bad. But are you allowed to rape them back in a moral context? Or do you shoot them to death? Right? In our modern legal sane system, you're allowed to shoot them in self-defense. You're not allowed to rape them back. And I am arguing to shoot them in self-defense, not to rape them back. And it's you freaks in my chat, the people who are defending Fed posters who are saying like, well, they're raping, so we can rape. And it's like, what? What's wrong with you? Fashion 40 says, $2 for glasses. You need it? Nah, I'm going to stay blind. That way it's funny when I misread chat. Connor proving the Connor isn't great at sarcasm myth. True. That's what made me mad. It isn't enough for Mootin. Yep. Connor, funny geopol update, bro. The U.S. Navy cannot apparently use a dryer. They had a fire from the dryer. Dude, I got so pissed at Midas Touch the other day. They're like, a U.S. naval aircraft carrier is on fire and Donald Trump is on the verge of committing suicide because of all the casualties in Iran. And I'm like, oh, shit. A naval aircraft carrier is on fire? Did it get hit by missiles? Do we have dozens of casualties? And they were like, the fire started in the laundry room. 2 people are injured in stable condition. And I'm like, that happens every day of the week. Okay? Somewhere on a Marine Corps installation right now, they have done so much laundry and never cleared the drying traps. And so it caught on fire and burned 2 Marines who tried to put the fire out with their dicks. Okay? That happens every single day of the week. So pretending that 2 Marines or Navy personnel setting themselves on fire while doing, a freak laundry accident, that happens every day of the week in the military. Okay? Jamie Harris says, how long do you scream about the other side before moving forward? I don't even know what the fuck you're talking about. I literally read 3 times. I'm not even going to read it again. Not only did I go over stochastic rhetoric, not only did I go over how silly you guys are, not only did I go over the rape metaphor, but then I gave you a perfectly articulable game plan for 2026 and 2028 that I've said 3 times during this stream. So Jamie Harris, I have no idea what you're talking about. Glory to the Fed Post Alliance. God damn it, Paul. God damn it, Paul. Just trying to get my heart rate up. Local host says, what does breaking Trump's nose look like in public? Concealed carry. And then if a federal officer tries to like detain you and you don't know who they are, shoot them in the face. Of course, if they're badged, licensed, uniformed law enforcement officers in conducting lawful law enforcement duties, then you comply and you go to jail. But if somebody runs up on you, then you do what you got to do, right? And you guys will be like, oh, Connor's reversing his position. That's not a reverse position at all. When you conceal carry, you are increasing the chances of getting killed. You are also increasing the chances of you being able to defend yourself. And I do not, while I think you should conceal carry, I don't think that you should kick law enforcement cars in the taillights, nor do I think you should intervene in ongoing arrests. I think that's a great way to get killed. So if you guys go, oh, you're being a hypocrite. No, I'm not. You guys are just dumb. I mean, I love you. I love you and I want to hold your hand and walk down a beach with you and stroke your hair. But sometimes you guys just like don't understand what is actually contradictory and what is not. Local host says, I didn't say in public, I said in practice. Sorry, local host. There's still like 110 people. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Cotter, I'm going to send you an effort post today. I'll explain why you're kind of wrong, but also offer a template to analyze these illiberal actions to fight those people even harder. Okay, thanks, Rob. Paul says, who is this carry person everyone keeps talking about? Why is he concealed? All right. Yeah, Thomas Dudley says, too long, didn't watch, Connor. Don't do stupid shit. Actually. So. Did Connor talk about the recent terrorist attack? I talked about it yesterday. I thought that or on Wednesday. I thought that shit was so ironic. Having like a soy lib protesting for Muslim immigrants, then having a Muslim immigrant throw a pipe bomb over his head at a white nationalist is like, it's such an ironic distillation of our cultural narrative. It's borderline amazing. It's like an art piece. I actually think God is an ironic artist. Oh shit. It's 106. I thought it was still like 1250. So I gotta go. We're moving over to Valor Reacts. Like the stream, share it with your friends, engage with chat, super chats if you got it, memberships if you got it. My parasocial love you. Thank you for being here. Let me thank everybody who donated so far today. Go over to twitch.tv, type in Counterpoint, subscribe to that channel. We're gonna be live watching The Battle of Mogadishu. We're going to be watching Black Hawk Down with Dan Pace. He's a Special Forces veteran. It's super awesome. Fashion 40, Old School, Fast and Bulbous, McDevin, Hedonic Samuel, Grassroots Hegemon, Keep Your Billsteins, Anonymous Chatter, Fatsimo, Hedonic Samuel, Jack Hanma, Anonymous Chatter, Fell Runner, Anonymous Chatter, Fell Runner. Don't know who this is because I can't read their name. Audacity. Thank you for the oil today, King. Anonymous, Audacity again, Anonymous, Vazraka, K, Vazraka, Fast and Bulbous, Owlishness, Grassroots Hegemon, Owlishness, The Chipingro, Fell Runner, Anonymous, Fashion, Grassroots, and Deus Halcyon. Thanks you for kicking us off today, Deus Halcyon. It was a really good day, and I didn't shill at all, so I actually really appreciate you guys. So anyways, I parasocially love you. I'm going to run. I'm going to pull up Dan Pace as quickly as possible. Go to twitch.tv or twitch.com. Type in Counterpoint. Subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys in 10 minutes. Stark Hoagies for 10 bucks is for all the time I wasted. Well, thank you for wasting my time, and thank you for giving me money for wasting my time. I do appreciate it. Fellrunner, thank you for being such a fucking Discord links king. I really appreciate you doing that.